Started, I'd ask if you would please to silence any cell phones or electronic devices that you have with us this evening. And again, we welcome you to the Osceola School Board meeting. Tonight we will have our invocation led by Father Tim LeBeau at Holy Redeemer Catholic Church. Our Pledge of Allegiance will be led by the Harmony High School Junior ROTC, Cadet Captain Christopher Harbour, Cadet Captain Matthew Cabarello, Cadet First Lieutenant Shannon Zomer, and Cadet Master Sergeant Hector Villages. Our national anthem we sung by Alexis Delgado, 8th grader from St. Cloud Middle School, and I'm going to mess it up. Caria Delgado, 9th grader from Osceola School for the Arts. I'd ask you please stand at this time for invocation, and Father, welcome to you this evening.
Good evening or good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to ask that we bow our heads and pray to our God for blessings upon us as we gather. Heavenly Father, you have brought us together this night in these very chambers to continue the work of educating our children, our young men and women, and our adults in this community. We thank you for the great men and women who serve on this school board, for our superintendent, and for all of those who are support staff. This is a time of great thanksgiving because you have blessed this community with many talented men and women and people who serve you and serve the community at large. We pray for all of those who are students, for all of those who are teachers, faculty, administrators, all of those who are support staff. We ask that you bless each one in their mission of serving together to bring the values of this community to bear in the next generation. We also pray for those talents and gifts that are shared in this process. And we also pray for tonight's meeting. We ask that you bless those who come before this body. We pray for those who will be making decisions. We pray for all who are involved in this process, that our democracy will stand strong and firm for what we believe. For you have brought us these values that are our nation under you, our God. And so we ask your blessings, we ask your strength, we ask your courage, we ask your love to come down upon each and every one of us as you bless us this night. We pray these blessings through and in your power, your strength, and your everlasting presence. Amen.
Pledge. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
About space. Forward. March.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming. And the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you, and you may be seated. And at this time, our mission statement from Janice Franceschi.
Our mission statement is education which inspires all to their highest potential.
Thank you, ma'am. Dahlia for translation services.
My name is Dahlia Medina. I'm here to provide translation services. Mi nombre es Dahlia Medina. Estoy aquí para proveer servicio de traducción. Gracias.
Thank you, Dahlia. Board will have positive comments at this time. I'll start with Mrs. Horn on my left.
Good evening. I had the opportunity to attend the academic resource fairs at Kissimmee Middle School and also St. Cloud High School. They were both well-attended events. There was a lot of good information given, and I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Mrs. Luciana, her staff that were there after hours, and for the parents and the students that showed up to learn a little bit more about some of the activities that we have and resources that we have out there available. Also, St. Cloud High School, I had a tour of one of the buildings, and Mrs. Lowe, the art teacher, she gave me a good tour of Building 4, I think, and a lot of good artwork displayed on the walls there. So if you have an opportunity, go by and take a look at it. Good job, Mrs. Lowe.
Thank you, Mrs. Horn. Mr. Soto?
Just a few words. Pretty sure everyone has noticed that we're getting near to our date of election on November 4th. And one of the things that makes it clear to me, at least, is the amount of advertisement that gets thrown at us, whether it be through our mailbox, when we're relaxing, seeing TV on an ad. And, you know, it's interesting how a lot of our political advertisement tends to be kind of negative. And, you know, this week, in the midst of all of that tempest of negativity, I found a temporary refuge in my school district mailbox. And I just want to go ahead and give a shout out and thank you to the staff at school administration and students that publish the Poinciana High School newsletter, The Point. And this is the first time that I've ever got my hands on this publication, and it couldn't come at a better time because I was totally inundated with just the bad news, the negative advertisement, and I found something that is not just positive, but entertaining and informative as well. The production of this newsletter board, I gotta tell you, in my opinion, is just great. It has a calendar, on-point articles, well written. It promotes the school, promotes the students, and I couldn't be prouder to be the school board member in a district that has a group of folks that are so dedicated, put so much effort. This is definitely a labor of a lot of work, labor of love, and I just want to give a shout out of Bravo Zulu to the students and staff at Poinciana High School.
Thank you. Good job, Mr. Soto. Mr. Wheeler?
Last week, I had the pleasure to attend a very exciting event. It was the county varsity swim championships over at Denjon Middle School, and it was a lot of fun. You can tell how hard these athletes worked, and I want to congratulate the Gateway High School boys swim team for being the boys county champions, and the Harmony High School girls swim team for being the girls varsity championship. They did a great job. So I just want to congratulate Gateway boys and Harmony girls swim teams.
Thank you, Mr. Wheeler. Mr. Long?
Good evening. Last week, I think it was on a Tuesday, I was watching ABC News. And on ABC News, they had a little segment about vehicles passing stopped buses. And on that, I was just about jumping out of the chair watching this. It showed a 18-wheel semi-truck passing on the right and almost plowing a kid down. Another part of it they show where the student got out in front of the bus and walked in front and was looking at the bus driver and was waving and almost crossed the yellow line, and the car went flying right through like it was nothing. Showed another car actually going on the sidewalk to try and go around this stopped bus with flashers and stop signs. This is National School Bus Safety Week, and we never give a lot of credit to our bus drivers. I couldn't do it. I'd probably have a heart attack every day when these cars pass these kids that are trying to cross the street. I did call Mr. Muniz up and talked about this technology piece. And again, I'm giving a shout out to our bus drivers. Thank you for the job you do to bring us all those kids safely to and from. I'm turning the floor to Mr. Muniz to talk about that technology.
About 2.5 years ago, our district participated in a pilot program of sorts where 5 districts in the state installed a limited number of cameras on buses to see how many red light or how many stop sign violators there were. Stop sign meaning the stop arms that come off of a bus. In Osceola County, after 9 days on 2 buses, there were 35 violators. So if that's 2 buses over 9 days. Now we know we had a student who was critically injured in this district a year ago by someone who who violated one of those stop arms. And you would think that, you know, big yellow bus, you can't miss them. Our big yellow buses get rear-ended all the time. People pass stop arms all the time. Unfortunately, the state or the county must pass some type of regulation, some type of law, which allows for them to use those stop arm cameras to cite violators. The camera systems themselves, they just recently received a grant of $80,000 in Alabama to study it, and Alabama may be one of the first states that implements it statewide. Texas does use them. They charge a fine of approximately $300 for the first time you violate that. Second time it's like $800. Third time is $1,000 and you lose your license. You would think that that would not happen. Unfortunately, it happens quite a bit. I certainly would support that, us having cameras on buses. I know this isn't the positive comment part, but folks, we need to keep an eye out for those kids. The fines get greater if they pass on the right-hand side versus the left-hand side where the door is. But if I would say within the next few months, you may see something coming out. Flaggo Live has already started talking about it. Next few months, you may see something in the state of Florida. So I implore you to read about it. Can't tell you to vote for it, but I will tell you to read about it. Okay. Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate it. Superintendent?
Just a couple of things. This week, the Osceola leaders, which are leaders from as county commissioners, city managers, etc., came to Thacker Avenue Elementary School to look at the IB program, and it was just a really wonderful event so that they can see the continuation, how we begin in elementary school, go into middle school and high school in our IB programs. Also attended the middle school and high school choral extravaganza, and I'm always amazed to see the finale where you have 700 children who practice for the very first time together at 6 p.m. and perform at 7. It was amazing. It was absolutely amazing. And finally, there was Hickory Tree Elementary School celebrated their 30th birthday. And I had the great opportunity of throwing a pie into Dr. Vislowski's face. It was fun. It was a great opportunity.
What was your aim?
It was great. I got her. I got her really well. So great things going on in our district. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. I'll wrap up. Mrs. Horn, I agree with you about the academic fairs. It was great to be there and great pleasure to see so many parents learning more and more about what's available to them to support their students at home. I had the opportunity to go to Thacker Avenue Elementary and participate briefly in their International Bazaar last week, which was a lot of fun to see, again, so many families and students there interacting and having a good time. And then tomorrow morning I have the pleasure of speaking at Michigan Avenue Elementary to a group of dads. And so I'm looking forward to that opportunity as well. So just good, all pro dads, yep. There's good things happening in Osceola schools as a whole, and so grateful for that. Presentations, Mel, we'll return to you for that.
Belinda, Ms. Pinkston, where are you? Belinda will be doing the first recognition of the FCCLA award members who happen to have some boards outside in the lobby.
Good evening, Board and Superintendent Luciano. It is with great pleasure that I introduce St. Cloud High School's Family, Career, and Community Leaders of America. I would like to ask to join me at the podium their advisor, Ms. Denise Peeler, and also St. Cloud High School Assistant Principal, Ms. Jennifer Rona. And if I could ask the FCCLA President, Ms. Haley Stoyer, to join us. Haley will be sharing just a bit with you about what FCCLA is all about.
Hello, everyone. FCCLA stands for the Family, Career, and Community Leaders of America and is a nonprofit national career and technical student organization for students in family and consumer sciences education courses. It is the only national career and technical student organization with the family as its central focus. Today, 200,000 members in more than 5,500 chapters are active members of the organization, and our St. Cloud High School chapter alone has about 70 members. Our mission is to promote personal growth and leadership development through family and consumer sciences in the educational career cluster. In the past year, chapter projects have included focuses from financial literacy to planning for the future to supporting causes such as breast cancer awareness and domestic violence. This year alone, we are already off to a great start. We recently just finished our annual Breast Cancer Awareness Week, where we raised approximately $1,000 to go towards breast cancer research. We also are going to be supporting our school's food pantry this year as a new project, and we have already raised about $400 to help replenish the supply of the pantry. Volunteer opportunities for our members include activities at local elementary schools and at Give Kids the World, where we give about 600 hours a year overall. FCCLA offers many different leadership opportunities that students can take and turn into learning experiences for themselves. I am currently serving as chapter president as well as state secretary of Florida FCCLA, and have formerly served as a district officer. These different positions have helped me grow as both a person and a leader. This past weekend, one of our own chapter officers, Brianna Gahn, was elected as the newest district chairperson. She will also be running in the election at state conference this year to become a state officer. This past summer, 12 members, including myself, went to the annual National Leadership Conference in San Antonio, Texas, where we competed on the national level representing our chapter and its projects. We also got to attend informative sessions and workshops, and as a state officer, I underwent special trainings to better prepare myself for the next year to lead an entire state of students. We want to thank our own high school, the Education Foundation, and everyone here today representing the district for aiding us in getting to the national conference. Without your support, we would not have had this amazing learning opportunity, and hope that you will continue to provide your support in the future. A few of the members who were able to make it here today will now be recognized for their achievements this past summer at the conference. I would now like to introduce Ms. Rona, our assistant principal at St. Cloud High School, who will help with this recognition. Thank you all for your time.
Good evening. As Haley mentioned earlier, we had 12 finalists. 8 were gold medals and 4 were silver. I have 3 students that were available to come tonight. We have a lot that graduated and are out doing wonderful things in the state and in the country. So the 3 that are here are Haley Stoyer and Peyton Harvey, both of which won the category for financial fitness. Come on up. Come on, Peyton. Other student that's here tonight that won in her category of life event planning is Jennifer Grajales. And I would also like to take a moment to recognize Ms. Peeler, our class sponsor. She does a phenomenal, as you can see, a phenomenal job with these students. Our campus is constantly interacting with various organizations, as Haley mentioned. But Ms. Peeler goes above and beyond with our students every day, not just with FCCLA. She also does our CTE program for our early childhood, which she has almost 100% pass rate every year in certifications. And she is also very active in our Best Buddies as well. So thank you, Ms. Peeler, for all that you do at St. Cloud High School.
Board and Superintendent Luciano, I'd like to also thank Mr. Luciano for helping to orchestrate this evening and always supporting our CTSOs. I'd like to take an opportunity to do 2 shameless plugs for our TICO facilities. We will be doing the ribbon cutting for our TICO satellite campus in Point Siena on the 23rd. That's this Thursday from 4 to 7 p.m. So we invite you all to come out. We're very excited about what this opportunity will mean for the residents of that community and also for our students. Also, the TICO Criminal Justice Academy Training Facility will have its open house at the end of the month. That's October 30th from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. and that's located at TICO Central on Simpson Road. Again, if you have an opportunity, please come out and support these endeavors. And as always, Board and Superintendent Luciano, we thank you for your continued support of career and technical education programs here within our district. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Pinkston. And next, 2014-15 favorite teachers, Ms. Schaefer.
Good evening. In the Osceola School District, you know that we have thousands of outstanding educators, and tonight it is my privilege to introduce a few of them to you. At the end of last school year, the Community Relations Department and the Education Foundation, Osceola, invited students to log on to our district's website and tell us in 50 words or less what makes their favorite Osceola teacher so special. Well, we had over 500 entries were sent in, and 10 student and teacher winners have been selected. Each winning student tonight will receive a $100 gift card from the Education Foundation. The winning teachers will receive a gift card for $100 in classroom supplies. I'd like to ask our board chairman, Mr. Weishire, and Superintendent Luciano to please join us down front for the awards. And tonight we also have with us Kathy Carr from the Education Foundation and Kim McKnight in the Community Relations Department. So congratulations to the following students and teachers who won our 2014-2015 Favorite Teacher Contest. Please join us down front, teacher Trevor Farrell, Celebration High School, and student Theodoro Meza from Celebration High School, who's in 12th grade. I'm going to read for every teacher, I'm going to read you what the student told us. My theory of knowledge teacher inspires me to become a knowledgeable person with various planes of knowledge. He shares insightful input in any discussion and changes my outlook on things. He takes education seriously, but with all he does, there is a purpose and an educational approach behind it. Congratulations. Next, we have teacher John LeGrand from Liberty High School and student Daylin Calderon from Liberty High School, who's in 12th grade. All right, here's what she said. Mr. LeGrand goes above and beyond for his students, offering after-school tutoring, help during lunch, and he turns down no math student in need. He prepares his AP Calculus students extremely well and pushes us to succeed. Mr. LeGrand provides an academic challenge found little elsewhere, and he is a great mentor. Congratulations. Please join us down front, teacher Charlotte Nunez, Thacker Avenue Elementary School for International Studies, and student Kanza Jamil, who's also from Thacker, and she's in pre-K. Here is what Kansas said. On my first day of school, I did not want to go to school. I told my parents that I would rather go to Chuck E. Cheese. But once I went to class, I had a lot of fun. Now I only want to go to Mrs. Nunez's classroom every day. We play, paint, and sing songs in the classroom. I like Mrs. Nunez a lot and can't wait to see her the next day. Congratulations to teacher Christine Grantham, Harmony High School, and student Chasten Chase Gross from Harmony High School, and the students in 12th grade. Miss Grantham is a strong, caring teacher that never gives up on her students. She is compassionate about her job and is always there to make sure all of her students are successful. As a senior this year, I believe she's made a huge impact on my ability to be successful. I believe many teachers can learn a lot from her. Congratulations. Our next pair is teacher Michael Fiorto, Celebration K-8 School, and student Ann Townsend, also from Celebration K-8 School, and she is in the 5th grade. Here's what Ann said. The teacher that instantly comes to mind for his dedication to students is Mr. Fiorto. He prepares his students with real-life situations, including involvement with the school garden and running his class like a business. Mr. Fiorto is very detailed with his instructions and makes school an enjoyable environment. Our sixth pair is teacher Douglas Smallwood from Osceola High School and student Orlando Reyes, Osceola High School, and the students in ninth grade. Here's what Orlando said. Honestly, there are so many reasons why Mr. Smallwood is so special, but one of the reasons why he makes learning so much fun. When he makes learning fun, the work is easy. Also, if you're having a bad day, Mr. Smallwood is the guy that will make your day better. He jokes around a lot, as you can tell, and makes you laugh until you can't breathe anymore. Another reason that is he is a good person. If you're having a lot of trouble on a problem and you get that problem wrong, he still gives you credit because you tried. Mr. Smallwood is the best teacher I've ever had. Next, we have teacher Monica Gonzalez. She's with Cypress Elementary School, and student Josiah Cannon, Cypress Elementary School, and the students in 5th grade. Okay, here's what he said. Miss Gonzalez helped me through rough times in math, and she made the math so easy. Since she helped me with math, she made the FCAT much easier for me and made me have so much more confidence in myself. I did great. Good job. Okay, 3 more to go. Teacher Janet Moody, Thacker Avenue Elementary School for International Studies, and the student is Megan Filgatis from Thacker Avenue Elementary. She's in 3rd grade, and Miss Megan had a lot to say. All right, here's what she said. I would like to say Mrs. Moody is nice and fun. When we were reading this book, Charlotte's Web, she wanted to bring the story to life by bringing a pig into our class to see how it will react. We did lots of fun projects. In the beginning of the year, I said that I could not do it, and Miss Moody said no one in this class says I cannot do it. She made me have confidence, so I did it. When it's the holidays, she always tells us to bring food so we can have a little holiday dinner with a movie. She taught us about different places where animals and plants live. Miss Moody read us the short book about polar bears and penguins. We read that they do not live together. Because of all that Mrs. Moody teaches me at the end of the year, I became an A-B honor roll student. She did a video of each student in the whole class, and that was very important to me. I hope Mrs. Moody wins the extra credit, and I hope that she can be my teacher for 4th grade. Teacher Sabrina Kincaid, she's at Central Avenue Elementary, and student Levant Thomas, Central Avenue Elementary, and Levant is in 5th grade. Miss Kincaid is nice, and she almost always says yes for everything I ask to do. She gives us free time for 20 minutes at the end of the day if we are good. And she has a level system that helps us learn social skills and learn responsibility for our behavior. As we learn to behave, we can do better on learning, reading, and math. Thank you very much, Levon. And finally, we have teacher Dustin Keaton from St. Cloud High School, and the student is Taina Ortiz, and she's with St. Cloud High School, and she's in 11th grade. She said, I had Mr. Keaton as an Algebra 1 teacher in my freshman year of high school. He came to my class towards the very end of the school year. Before that, there were 3 teachers before him. Due to the constant change in teachers, I was having difficulty understanding the material. When Mr. Keaton showed up to stay as a permanent teacher, at first, he seemed a little scary and mean. But there's good news. As I got to know him as a teacher, I realized that he was actually a reality. Seeing how math in general has never been one of my strong points, every time I was confused on a problem, he would sit down and work it out with me, which really helped me a lot. If it wasn't for him, I probably would be in intensive math. But since he taught me how to solve problems and how not to freak out every time a fraction showed up, I can handle algebra now with a more open mind. I can't even thank him enough for all that he has helped and has given me. Congratulations. so much to our outstanding teachers and students for writing in. Thank you so much.
Because I know that the parents and relatives want to take photos. You can get closer. Come on, double up. Get this small. You take photos and some people run. You get right in the middle here. Here we go.
Can we squeeze way in?
Okay, real nice. Squeeze it. Just there you go. Smile. There you go. Just a little bit more. I want to make sure everybody's in.
Mr. Fiorito. Congratulations.
Everyone got it?
I think we're good.
Thank you so much. Congratulations to all of you.
I'm coming back to
I'm following you today. Thank you.
Oh, yes. Let them carry this.
Okay, so we are at the moment of our board meeting where we are open for public comment. First up will be April Jackson. April, I invite you up at this time. April, I know you know the routine. If you would, please, ma'am.
April Jackson, 722 Mabette Street, Kissimmee, Florida. President of Osceola County Education Association. And I apologize for missing the last few meetings, but the last meeting that I did attend, we had a group of parents address the boards about how wonderful vouchers are and we should be giving more to private schools. Well, I have no problem with private schools whatsoever. I have a granddaughter that attends one of the top private schools in the state. She goes to San Jose Day School in Jacksonville. My daughter pays $15,000 a year for her tuition, 10 kids in the classroom. She's getting one of the best educations I've ever seen. I've been on the school board for the First United Methodist School. I use these schools as example as well as Holy Redeemer and so forth because they have certified teachers teaching in their private schools. But when we have people come up and talk about private schools and how wonderful some of these are, I need to give you an example. You know that the Florida Education Association and the school board filed the lawsuit against the vouchers. Well, they had this big press conference across the street from the FEA office, and they bussed in 4 buses full of black children from Jacksonville to say how their education was not going the way it should and they should be able to attend private schools. No problem. I agree they need the best education possible. They loaded the children up on the yellow school unair-conditioned buses. An hour later, our vice president, president, and secretary-treasurer went over to have lunch at the restaurant, and the pastor that spoke on behalf of the children's chauffeur showed up, and he was taken to his limousine to go back to Jacksonville. The children were not given the same opportunity. This gentleman stood up there and spoke about how wonderful his private school is, but yet the children were bused in the middle of August on school buses to speak and address, but yet he waited after everybody had left, and his chauffeur carried his things out to the car, and he left. Now, another thing about this that bothers me, had a phone call last week from a private school teacher in Osceola County who hadn't been paid yet this year. Then we'll talk about my students. Everybody knows I taught intensive English, or reading. My students who did not pass the FCAT or a concurrent score in March would transfer to the private school so they could get their athletic scholarships. And then when they get to school, they'd fail out their first semester because they weren't prepared or ready to go. A lot of our private schools in Osceola County do not have certified teachers. The people teaching these classes don't even have the parapro certification or an associate's degree. All you have to be is a warm body and be willing to teach in some of our private schools to teach our children. So before you make a decision about vouchers are good or vouchers aren't good, I need you to do the research to make certain that we're on equal playing fields, because we have a lot more requirements that we have to go through. The charter schools have to go through different things, and there's no reason our taxpayer money should be going to private schools that don't even pay their employees. Thank you.
Thank you, April. Okay, next up is Monvel Lasada. Good evening to you, sir. I'd welcome you. Let you know if you would please state your name and address for the record. You'll have 3 minutes. You'll notice the lights in front of you.
Yes, I've been here before. My name is Manuel Losada. Address is 9954 Autumn Creek Lane. That's in Orlando, Florida, 32832.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. I wanted to read to you from a letter that I wrote to give you an understanding of what goes on inside school sometimes, even though everything on the outside looks so good. The first Monday after February 2014, upon being notified that a child had been placed in a headlock by an assistant teacher who worked in my ASD classroom while I was out teaching class in the IND classroom adjacent to mine, I made what I believed to be at the time a report of suspected child abuse to DCF, which is Department of Children and Families. That report, to the best of my ability, was never forwarded. I believe that laws were broken and that the administrative personnel at this school knew that a headlock had been effectuated upon a child. Now, this school has had issues before. I felt duty-bound to come over here and report. I also brought a parent with me whose child was at the same school. Now later on, I was made the subject of an investigation of events that happened, I believe out of retaliation. The principal neglected to tell the parent that I was not in the classroom at the time. So the reason I'm here is because I think that this points to some serious flaws in how some of these schools are being run. Now, I can only speak for the school that I was at, but I believe in character, and I believe it's important, and I don't know to what extent things are not still being done the way they're supposed to, but anyway, that's what I wanted to talk to you about, and I've also let the Department of Education know, and I felt duty-bound. Like I said, I have been. You know, I did tell the assistant superintendent about this issue, that I felt it was serious. I've been teaching for 20 years, and basically he never got back with me. So I appreciate your time very much. God bless you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you coming this evening. Mr. Wheeler?
Mr. Lozano, first off, I appreciate the courage to come here and the conviction to come here. I guess I've got a question really for Mr. Brown. Based on you know, we were, first off, I'm not going to suggest that I have any knowledge of what did or didn't happen. Clearly, I wasn't there. But based on if there's somebody who works for us who fills out a report for DCF, are they, first off, I suspect they're supposed to hand it to the administration.
No, no.
Okay.
If you have reason to suspect child abuse, abandonment, or neglect under statutes 39.201 and 39.205, you call the DCF hotline. You call the police yourself. We have a board policy that deals with reporting suspected child abuse, abandonment, or neglect. So you don't satisfy the duty by simply telling someone else about it.
No, I went and I asked specifically the principal secretary what the procedure was, and I'm telling you, during that.
The form to adjudicate.
No, okay.
During the time that I made that report, one of the administrators called, and I was really kind of shocked that this would happen during a report, because it gave the impression that somehow, you know, there was some sort of. Well, I can't put myself in the position of the person that did that, but.
Mr. Lozado, what I'm going to suggest is, first off, I appreciate you coming forward, and the attorney's right, this is not the forum really, but if you'd like to give me a call, my cell number is 407-973-4141, you can find it on the district website. So
yeah, I brought the parent with me as well. I mean, the parent is willing to speak. I mean, his words as far as what happened there. And there's other things that happened at the school.
Mr. Lozado, the time has run out, though, for your part of the presentation. So I think at this point you've let the board know what your concerns were, what you're appreciated you bring it to us. The attorney's kind of addressed it. You can call Mr. Wheeler, and then I'm sure each of the board
Yeah, it's by no means over. I mean, there's a lot of documentation involved.
Sir.
But I do appreciate it.
Sir, thank you.
Here's my cell number's on the card.
And Dahlia, for our next speaker, they do need an interpreter as well. So at this time, I invite up Mr. Alfonso Negron Arroyo. Yes, sir.
Hello.
Tiene que decir su nombre y su dirección.
Ok, mi nombre es Alfonso Negrón Arroyo.
Alfonso Negrón
Mi
Arroyo.
dirección es 956
956
Salerno,
Salerno,
Kissimmee, Florida.
Kissimmee, Florida.
34758.
34758.
Thank you.
Ok, el maestro Lozada fue el
The
maestro.
teacher Lozada
Fue el maestro de nuestro niño.
was the
Jeremy.
teacher of my
He's
son.
autista.
He's autistic.
El niño, pues,
The child,
en 3 o 4 ocasiones
in 3 or 4 occasions,
fue maltratado.
was mistreated.
Pues, nos llamaban
The school would
o
call
de
us
school call, y reportaban de que había sido agredido
and would report that he had been hurt
por otro
by another
niño
student.
o other student. Mi esposa y yo
My
preocupados,
wife and I are concerned.
vamos a la escuela
We go to the school
porque lógicamente estamos preocupados como
because
padres.
logically as parents we're concerned.
Fueron golpes fuertes
He was hurt hard.
y yo no entendía que al haber dos
He didn't
asistentes
understand that there were 2 assistants.
ocurriera algo tan
Something-
consistentemente.
Something could occur so consistently.
Sabíamos, conocíamos la calidad
We knew the
del
quality of
teacher,
the teacher,
¿verdad? Y el trabajo lo veíamos en la libreta,
and we could see the work in the notebook.
pero al darse estos incidentes,
But because of the incidents,
vamos a preguntar.
we go to the school
¿Qué,
to ask
¿Qué pasa?
what's going on.
Pues nos indicaron
They told us
que en los incidentes,
the incidents,
Mr. Lozada
Mr. Lozada
no estaba presente,
wasn't present,
pero habían dos
but
asistentes.
there were 2 assistants present.
Pues estamos preocupados,
But
dos asistentes,
we're worried that even though
y
there were 2
continuaban los-
assistants and there's still
Ok,
things were happening.
las agresiones. Yo soy maestro,
I'm a teacher,
es de español,
a Spanish teacher,
y entiendo
and I
que
understand
muchos de estos niños tienen movimientos involuntarios.
that many of the students have involuntary movement.
Y puede que el maestro no tenga el control
And the
en un
teacher,
momento.
and the teacher might not
Okay.
have the control at the
Pero no
moment,
2,
but
3,
not 2 or
4,
3 or
5
4 or
veces.
5 times.
Y entiendo que,
I understand
que como que no nos querían decir qué era lo que estaba
that
pasando.
the school didn't want to tell us what was really going
Vamos
on.
donde el director
I went to the principal,
y él no pedimos que un
and we
reporte de
asked a
incidente,
report, an incident report,
pero no sé, que
But-
no estaban totalmente, aparentemente,
but
de
they
lo que
weren't
estaba pasando, seguro de lo que
apparently
estaba pasando
aware,
dentro del salón.
sure of what was going on in the
Claro.
classroom.
Entonces nosotros preocupados
So we're
tuvimos que sacar al
preoccupied.
niño de la
We
escuela.
had to take the child out of the school.
Yo le dije al director,
I told the principal,
yo soy maestro,
because I'm a teacher,
los asistentes para trabajar con niños autistas
the assistants that work with autistic children,
tienen que tener alguna preparación
they
para
have
trabajar
to
con
be
estos
prepared
niños.
to work with these
Él me dijo que
children.
en estos momentos no la tenían, pero lo iban a
He
enviar a
said that
tomar.
the assistants didn't have the preparation, but they were gonna be sent to get the
Ya
preparation,
iban para que estudiara.
so they could study.
Okay.
And Dalia, we do need to start to wrap up as well.
Tienen que terminar porque
Okay.
ya se le venció el tiempo.
Okay.
Algo que para terminar,
No, yo estoy aquí en
I'm
calidad de
here
padre
as a parent,
y entendiendo que hasta donde conocimos a Mr. Lozada, había hecho
understanding that
una
that
gran
Mr.
labor.
Lozada had done a great
Entonces-
job. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Okay. Superintendent, there are no appointments or transfers for this evening, correct? Okay. So we'll move on to agenda modifications. Board, I'll turn to you at this time, Mrs. Horn.
Good to go.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Soto? Thank you. Mr. Wheeler?
And I'm good.
Mr. Long?
Good go.
Thank you. And Superintendent, you don't have any as well? Board, I don't either, so at this time I'd entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Board. We do have a motion by Mr. Long with a second by Mrs. Horn on the approval of the consent agenda. Board, I'm assuming no discussion. Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by stating aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion does carry 5-0. Under information items, we have college and career readiness.
Good afternoon. I'd like to thank the board for the opportunity to come forward tonight, talk to you about the efforts we're making throughout this county in college and career preparations with our students. So tonight I have with me some of our staff, Sarah Schumacher, Gladys Justiano, Belinda Pinkston, and Yanellis Ballard. They'll all cover part of the presentation, but one of the things that I wanted to do is open up and make sure that you knew how much I appreciated this opportunity. And I wanted to make sure I reiterated that it's not just a school district effort that's been going on. This is really a county-wide effort, and we have some really good things going on that we're going to share with you tonight. So if you'll go to the next slide. When we talk about college and career readiness, this really goes from pre-K or kindergarten all through 12th grade or to post-secondary. When we're thinking about this, it starts within pre-K and kindergarten when you're talking to students about what they want to be when they grow up, and you actually are planting that seed for students for those careers that they'll at one time aspire for. When we talk about it tonight, we're going to look at two different sets of strategies that will be shared with you. Some of those strategies will be school-based, and some of them will be overarching throughout the district. And again, this is not just the secondary or high school effort that we will be sharing with you tonight. We have some really great partners in this with either the foundation that's working with us or Celebration Foundation. So we have a lot of people that's working on this. Valencia has just really come to the table. It's just not high school that we'll be sharing. These are a lot of partners that are coming together to work on this. So what are we doing as far as career and college preparation? When you look at this slide, this kind of actually encompasses everything that we have going on with our career pathways within Osceola. And the efforts within college and career readiness is just one of those efforts. When you look at this, it literally starts in elementary school from that pre-K or kindergarten all the way to post-secondary. College readiness is one of those pathways, but it's just one of many. All of those pathways that we'll be working on and talking about and the strategies that will be with college and career readiness is really, when you're looking at it, is to prepare that student for that high-wage, high-demand job. Not all students will be going to college, but that is one of the things that we have within our pathways that we're looking at. when we're looking at whether it's CTE, the ROTC Fine Arts, dual enrollment, IB and AP, some of the things we'll talk about, this is really a kindergarten through 12th grade effort, not just within the school district. The strategies that we'll be talking about is really Osceola County strategies. So I cannot take credit for all of these. This is just a presentation about everything that's going on within our school district.
To start off, I'm going to talk about some of the academic programs that we have within our district that cover college and career readiness that's infused within the academic curriculum. And several of them are K-12 programs. As we mentioned before, the IB program is K-12, as well as AVID, which is new this year. We added in 4 elementary schools. So that's a K-12 continuum to help students get excited about college and know that it's possible, and to help push them all the way through elementary through high school to be prepared to go to college. We also have some programs to help students earn college credit while they're still in high school, such as AP and ACE, which is the Cambridge program that's new at Liberty High School this year. We also have dual enrollment as an option as well. We have 2 different options. We have the dual enrollment with Valencia College for those who want to go on to college. And then we have dual enrollment through TICO, which is starting to get bigger and bigger as we've opened up more campuses this year. So for those students who are more career focused and want to go into the technical program, we have both of those available. And then soon to be coming, we will have a dual enrollment articulation with UCF for students to pursue dual enrollment at the university level.
Board, as mentioned earlier, the matrix that you see before you shows the range of programs that we offer within our district K through 12. These programs are designed to prepare our students to embark upon a post-secondary career and enable them to be college and career ready. I'm currently in the process of scheduling with each high school administration a viability check to check the pulse of the programs that we are offering to our students. We want to look at the viability of the programs being offered within our high schools to ensure, as Dr. Akes referred to earlier, that we are providing our students with an opportunity to earn high wages and high demand careers. Some of the indicators that I will be sitting down and discussing with the principals and members of their administrative team to gauge the viability of the programs being offered at their schools include, but are not limited to, career and technical education student organizations, as we just saw the presentation from St. Cloud High School, internship opportunities, partnerships with business leaders within our community, articulation paths, how we are preparing our students to move on to post-secondary opportunities, whether that be at Valencia, our TICO facility, or to be able to move directly into the workforce, and also to gauge the robustness of their being able to partner with leaders in industry to create those opportunities for our students.
Okay, and one of the strategies that we're using to ensure that our students are college and career ready is we're offering test prep at all of our schools. SAT and ACT test prep offered for free using the Plato labs at every high school. Students would sign up with a high school career specialist to get that going. Also, as far as the students that are interested in the military, we have ASVAB test prep, also through Plato. And this year, as far as SAT test prep, Khan Academy partnered up with the College Board, and they're offering free SAT test prep for our students at the website that's listed there. And also, we have another resource, March to Success, that also offers free SAT, ACT, and ASVAB test prep. Another way to ensure college and career readiness is just having that contact with the student. All of our students on the high school level are met with their guidance counselors and career specialists. We do credit checks just to make sure that they are on track to graduating, especially now with the different requirements that seem to happen every year. So we just make sure that we're meeting with the students so that they understand the differences and what they're needing to do to graduate. Also with the seniors, a post-secondary plan survey is given to those seniors. So we collect that information and we put the information in a tab in the new Focus system that's called Got Plans, so that we can track the information that's collected. Also, along with the students, we make sure that we're in contact with the parents so that they understand what's going on as far as college and career readiness and graduation requirements. If you look at the bottom here at the screen, these are the different ways that a lot of our guidance counselors and career specialists keep in contact with the parents. On your far left, we use what's called Remind, which is a free group texting services for all teachers. And pretty much what we do is we give a code to the students and parents along with a phone number, and they can just add themselves into the database, so whenever we're needing to share important information, they can get that information in the form of a text. Also, Edmodo, it's very similar to that of Facebook. We're able to share, upload information, pictures, share links with students and parents as far as anything involving colleges and careers, or even events at the schools. Twitter, it's used with the district, but for example, I use it with my program, the Reach for the Stars. I just send information in the form of tweets to let them know the latest information of what's out there, what's being offered. Eventbrite, that is, for example, an app that's used in one of our high schools, and what that does is pretty much is used to schedule events and allows parents and students to RSVP to those events. Socrative, it's a website that you can use for polling students, and then that last icon that you see there is just a SharePoint. That's pretty much just what we use on the website to just share information and resources with parents and students.
As Dr. Akes mentioned before, this is a community-wide initiative. So Got College started back in April of 2013, and it was a group of all stakeholders in Osceola County got together to look at our admissions rate of students actually attending college right after graduation. So as you can see from this map here, in 2011, our number of students actually entering Florida public colleges right after high school was 41%, which is about 10% below the state average in some of the surrounding counties. So at this meeting, we came up with different brainstorming ideas of what barriers were out there, not letting students actually enroll in college right after high school, and what strategies could we come up with to help them overcome that. So we came up with over 20 at that meeting. From those 20, we came up with 8 that we thought we could actually try to tackle within last school year. And on those 8 strategies, there were committees that were created on each of those. But moving forward to this school year, what we are working on, we have the medical pipeline, which has been expanded. It takes place for elementary students, middle school students, and high school students. And this is exposing them to the medical careers that are available. The Celebration Foundation has been an excellent partner in letting our students know what college options are available in Osceola County. So they provide buses, and this year we're targeting 7th grade. So we're sending 100 students from each middle school to Valencia and Tico. And also we'll be sending some 12th graders as well. The Education Foundation, Valencia College, and the school district partnered for one day for 11th graders. We bused them to Valencia, about 150 students from each of the high schools, and they got to see what college was like for a day. And they sat in a room with a professor and really got to see what it's like to be in a college classroom. We had over 1,000 students attend that day. We also have a Got College hotline that's answered by someone who's bilingual, so if parents or students have questions, they can call the hotline and they can refer them to the appropriate person. We have scholarship financial aid counseling, which is available through the Education Foundation. And then also we have thermometer data, which we'll be talking about a little bit later, to for our schools to monitor student acceptance.
And these are just pictures of that day, October 7th, when we had the field day of all the 11th graders, or over 1,000 11th graders going to Valencia to get that college experience. All right, got plans. This is a curriculum that Sarah and I pretty much researched, and we're using with the guidance counselors and career specialists in making sure that our students have a plan. Currently, we're using them on the elementary and middle school level with the transitioning grades, so the 5th graders and also the 8th graders, just making sure that they understand the transition and that they have a plan before they transition to the next level. And on the high school level, we're pretty much delivering the lessons to all grades at the high school level, 9 through 12.
Through our great partnership with Valencia College, we were able to hire 3 Valencia College transition coaches, and they are great, and they're a great asset to our district because what they're really doing is helping students and parents. They're that one-on-one support to help students get from high school to college. They came on at the end of last year, about April or May, so it was kind of, they were trying to work with those at-risk seniors that maybe didn't have plans yet, didn't know what they wanted to do, and they helped them through the process of actually applying through Valencia and every single step that they need to take to be enrolled at Valencia and attend classes. So I know that they helped many students who probably would not be in classes right now actually attend college. And this year they're also working with our dual enrollment students just to help with that transition from high school to college because they are starting their college transcript and we want to make sure that they're going to be prepared.
Good evening. In an effort to provide our students for post-secondary readiness, this summer we initiated the Go Vertical Institute. And the Go Vertical Institute was designed to create this vertical alignment within our standards from elementary, middle, high school, and input from Valencia professors based on the skills that they see students would need in order to be successful in college. So this institute, we included all 5th grade ELA and math teachers, 6th, 7th, 8th grade algebra, biology, 9th and 10th grade ELA teachers. So we did a big span as far as elementary, middle, and high school teachers. With the vertical alignment that we're looking at are the power standards and how these standards build upon each other so teachers can see what comes before and after their curriculum so they can best prepare students to be successful at post-secondary, whether it be college or CT that Ms. Pinkston will also discuss. Besides the standards alignment, we also focused on providing teachers with best strategies to increase student achievement and looking at technology for lesson delivery because we know we have to keep kids engaged and now we're in an era where you need to have those tools to keep them engaged in the lesson of the class. We are also looking at rigor and increasing higher order tasks and as well as using PLCs effectively as a vehicle to foster all these initiatives with our teachers. So we also expanded the Go Vertical for Go Vertical CTE.
Thank you, Ms. Ballard. At the other end of the curriculum house, we felt it was important that we afford our CTE teachers at the middle and high school level an opportunity to hear from business leaders exactly what they are looking for as far as, again, being able to produce college and career-ready students. We had a symposium this summer that allowed leaders from the business community in the areas of culinary, hospitality, the medical field, all of those pathways that lead to high demand, high wage jobs. The theme was the 3 Ps: partnerships, pathways, and possibilities. We felt by forging these partnerships with business entities, it would enable our students, again, to successfully embark upon that post-secondary career. Some of the topics discussed by the employers were identifying workforce needs, essential employability skills, and career pathway opportunities. We felt that it was important that our instructional leaders in the classroom teach the standards and the benchmarks, but also envelop those soft skills that we take for granted that many of our students just haven't had an opportunity to cultivate, such as the importance of making eye contact when speaking, dressing appropriately for an interview, submitting an error-free resume, and sending a thank you card for the opportunity to interview. Again, at our level, these are all things that we take for granted, but it's important that our students have these skills because it's those soft skills coupled with the real world applicable skills that they apply not only in their CTE classes, but also in their core academics, which will make them successful.
And another strategy that we're using throughout the district in getting our students college and career ready targets the top 10% of juniors and seniors in all high schools. And that is the Reach for the Stars program. And this program began in September of 2009. As of right now, we currently have 103 seniors that are participating in the program. Juniors will be recruited sometime in the early spring. The main purpose pretty much is to help these students navigate through the college application and admissions process. It's also to encourage them to apply to the Ivy League and top tier colleges based on their high academic standing. Students are recruited using an application process similar to that of applying to college. Students who participate in the program are met with at least once a month at their schools during their lunch. While we're not meeting with them at the schools, we're also communicating with them through the use of technology. For example, with Remind, Edmodo, and Twitter.
Board, I hope that you can see from the presentation tonight the many strategies that we have going on throughout our county. It's just not a school district initiative. As you can see from the presentation and the slide that you have, one of our goals within the strategic plan is making sure our students are career and college ready. I think that when we look at it through secondary's eyes, or really through kindergarten through 12th grade, I think that you can see that we have a lot of specific strategies going on, specific touches with students, like the 11th graders, a targeted group going to Valencia, the Reach for the Stars, top 10%. The medical pipeline where we actually get the students into those medical professions, whether it's elementary, middle school, or high school grades. So we're really, really excited about the different strategies we have in place. And as you can see from the bottom of this slide, the way we're going to measure that, and I'll have Gladys actually share that with you, is through those, what plan does a student have when he or she exits or walk across that stage, that he or she's ready to execute upon graduation. So we actually measure that with our thermometer data.
Yes, and we use information based on what the seniors provide. So this is all senior students providing confirmed information to their guidance counselors and high school career specialists. And by confirmed, we mean that they provide them with a letter from the college or even the military, if they're in the military, if they have industry certification and they've, made a connection as far as a job is concerned. Any letter, anything that's showing confirmation that they have a plan, a post-secondary plan, they will provide that information, and then the career specialist will report those numbers to me, and then we put it in this nice pretty graph that measures the post-secondary plans. And this information was for last year as of June 2nd. So it pretty much shows the percentages of all students at the schools who had confirmed post-secondary plans.
So as you're looking at the thermometer data, what you realize is the goal for high schools, specifically on this, And what Gladys and Sarah has referred to as the Got Plan tab is for every one of our high school seniors that walk across that stage to have a plan. One of the things that you and I both know, that teenagers think they know everything. Teenagers think that they have it figured out, and the day after they walk across that stage, the reality begins to set in. I was a high school principal. About 4 or 5 months after every graduation, they'd start coming back into school, and it was like they would gravitate back because they realized they did not have a plan. So our initiative here is really to make sure every one of those students has a plan to reach a career in a high-wage, high-demand option. As you can see from this actual photo here, it's a must. When these kids walk across those stages, they have to know where that next step is. And I think that the district and the county, working together with all our partners, has really got a lot of specific strategies that are helping us reach that. So I'll take any questions at this time.
Thank you for the presentation, all of you, and we appreciate your time and your expertise this evening. Mr. Long?
Yes, good evening. Thank you for that presentation, but I was taking notes as I was going through. And one of my notes was early on was, did you poll the students? And towards the end I heard that yes, you polled the seniors. I was one of those students way back when everything was in black and white. They didn't have color, anything back then. I waited till I was graduated. Fortunately, back then, you could walk out of high school and go get a good paying job. And I was fortunate enough to do that. Now that is not the case. My question is, can we, besides polling just seniors, can we poll those freshmen and follow them through and come up with some kind of data? Even if you say, what is your plan after high school? If 50% say whatever, and only 50% say go to college. You know, that one graph you put up early on shows the Seminole is farther ahead of us. If we can get some data, say, you know, 2 things come to mind, and the income level and how much the transient level in this county. Those are 2 big factors, but I'm trying to point a finger at something and say, what is it, freshman, sophomore, junior, right on up through those high school years, that makes you say, I don't know what I'm going to do. It's where you can say, what do you like to do? And all the teachers that I've ever met through this district, they didn't go through their high school years and go to college and everything and say, well, I think I'll be a teacher. They were all driven to be teachers. You mentioned a few times about the top 10%. What about the bottom 10%? Those are the ones that the top 10% are already motivated. They're going to college. If we can find some way to get those that, you know, they're just barely making it through high school, barely get that diploma, and then they're showing up at their parents' door pit. I've got to stay here for another 10 years because I don't know where I'm going. Is there any plans of going after those freshmen, sophomore, junior to get some data?
Yes, sir. Mr. Long, I really appreciate that question. And you will not believe, Sarah and I were just talking about this very issue this week, and it goes together with what Belinda was talking about. When you look at our career pathways here, our initiative is to have each one of these students, by the time they exit middle school, to have a career plan. It may not be what's going to actually concrete happen, but Tom, what we can do when we're doing that in our focus is you can actually list down the things that you're interested in. So when Belinda's talking about the viability of a program, it has to be something that interests the students. For example, the gaming programs that we've put in at Celebration, at Point Siena, and at Harmony, there's a high wage, high demand there, but it's also matched with student interest. So our intentions is for when these students come out of middle school, we'll know these things that they're interested in and be able to match the need with the high wage, high demand. So we're doing that currently. Focus is going to be the tool by which will allow us to do that. And we want every one of those students to, one, have a plan, but make sure that we know what their interests are. So yes, sir, we are doing that. And I think that the career clusters that Belinda has talked about will actually lend us to that.
I have 2 more follow-up questions real quick if I can go.
The superintendent had a
question.
If you don't mind, can we continue this after we finish the next presentation? Only because we are limited till 7 p.m. in order to do our live presentation with UCF.
If we can remember that particular page when we come back, if we come back.
Yeah, and I'd like to come back to this.
Oh, yeah, we can come back. It's just that we have only till 7.
No problem. Thank you.
If you don't mind, just...
Thank you. Sure. We're good.
We'll pause and we'll come back after these announcements.
Don't go away.
Yeah, we're going to class.
Lisette?
Board's going to class. So.
Could you...
Thank you, and I appreciate that. Good evening, Board and Superintendent. We know that simulation technology has been used for many years as a teaching and learning tool. Think about pilots who train with a simulated airplane cockpit, NASA's vacuum chamber simulating zero gravity, and even some driver's ed classes with a simulated car. However, up until now, we have not seen much of this in education. Thanks to the University of Central Florida, our district has partnered with them to bring to you our professional development, which uses simulated technology. And for this effort, we have been recognized by Florida's DOE for being one of the first to use this type of technology for training teachers and staff. To tell you all about it, here is the district's Director of Professional Development, Janice Franceschi, along with two UCF professors who have been instrumental in this project, Dr. Straub and Dr. Behrens. Thank you.
Thank you, and welcome, ladies.
Good evening, and thank you for giving us the opportunity to share with you a little bit about Teach Live. Teach Live is an innovative mixed reality technology that was invented by the University of Central Florida. Similar to the computer simulations that a lot of pilots use to train, we are now going to be using that for the professional development of teachers. What we like about it is that it really provides a safe environment to practice, for teachers to practice a new skill or a technique. And it's really an individualized learning opportunity for the participants. As a district, we've had the opportunity to utilize this new technology in two very unique ways. First, as part of a professional development research project that targeted high school biology teachers, where the teachers practice their new teaching skills using a classroom of student avatars, such as the ones that are pictured here. Hang on. Maybe not. All right, thank you. Such as the ones that are pictured here. And you'll hopefully get to meet them at the end of our presentation. We also had the opportunity for instructional coaches. These are individuals in positions like literacy coaches or math coaches from throughout our district and the school level to practice and refine their coaching skills using an adult avatar. So the district's professional development department, along with the curriculum department and, thank goodness for the media and instructional technology department's assistants, have collaborated with UCF to bring these opportunities to our staff. I'd like to introduce to you Dr. Carrie Straub from the University of Central Florida. She has served as the Director of Research for the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation research projects, which we participated in last spring.
Thank you, Superintendent Luciano and the board. I'm a little taller, sorry. So we are so happy and honored to be here this evening, and I appreciate you giving us the time and with the time window, because we do have a limited amount of time and we wanted you to get a chance to meet the avatars. So they're much more interesting than us as humans, so you'll get a chance to meet them live. But just to give you a little bit of a concept, you are the very first district that's doing this professional learning. And at all of these different levels and initiatives, that is just so amazing to us. We're really lucky to have you in our backyard. And I think because of Mel Pace and Janice Franceschi, we've had some great partnerships with you and been able to work with your teachers on multiple levels. So thank you so much for inviting us into your district, and know that you're the very, very first district that is doing this work. We have 50 university partners across the country, but we wanted to be strategic about who we play with in this space. So we chose this district because we really felt like we could go places. So what we're going to talk about tonight is the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation research project that we did. And before we signed on with you in year 2 of our project, when I spoke to Janice, she said, well, how effective is this? You know, we don't want to just do something experimental with our teachers. We want to make sure that it's effective. And so what we found in year 1 of our study with middle school mathematics teachers was that after 4 10-minute sessions, we were able to change a targeted teaching behavior. And we changed that behavior in the simulator, and that also we saw significant differences in their practice in their classroom too. So what that means is after 40 minutes of professional development, teachers were changing, and that's groundbreaking. You might do, not of course in this district, of course not, but you might do professional development that's hours and hours long, and maybe teachers take it back and use it, and maybe they don't. So this is something that's kind of the next generation of professional learning, and we're really fortunate. We're collecting and analyzing the data now for year 2, and hopefully we'll be invited to come back and talk to you about our results from that. And again, thank you so much for our partnership. So I'd like to pass it over to you.
The second way that we had an opportunity to use Teach Live was the instructional coaching series. And I'd like to bring up Dr. Sherry Behrens, who's the presenter of the instructional coaching series within our district. She actually is a visiting lecturer with the University of Central Florida, and she developed the 4 tenets of instructional coaching that was the basis for the professional development activity that our coaches participated in. She worked very closely with our coaches as they refined their coaching skills and techniques. So,
thank you, School Board and Superintendent Melba Luciano, for having me this evening. First of all, I'd like to point out that it was an honor to work with the dedicated, hardworking, and visionary leaders in Osceola County. The educational leaders are just amazing here. And so what you might like to know about me, my background in coaching, spans school level to district level. I was a school-based coach in a different district, and I also worked at I think it's the 10th largest school district in the nation, in a role for 3 years where I worked very closely with coaches. And that role also included professional development of coaches and working with K through 12 site-based coaches as well. Also, when I parlayed over to UCF, I was asked to create an instructional coaching course. This instructional coaching course is very near and dear to my heart, of course, and it was accepted and approved as a state-level course, which is pretty great and exciting for me. So basically, I think that's how I attracted some attention from Dr. Brissendine and Janice Franceschi about this. And so now I'd like to tell you about this work that I'm very proud of, and I'm proud of the collaboration really that took place. So up here on the screen, you can see my slide. I guess I probably don't have to hold this. I feel like I do for some reason. but we focused here on the 4 tenets of instructional coaching, which is really the key essential parts of being an effective coach at schools. And then our learning goals are pretty apparent up here, but the one that I'd really like to point out is the peer coaching cadres. We're looking to build coaching amongst teachers at schools, in addition to having, of course, site-based coaches at schools. Which is really well supported in research to improve the instructional practices of teachers. And of course, that means it will impact student success as well, which is our goal, of course, too. And what happened in this professional development, it was done in whole group, it was done in small group and one-on-one. And what we looked at, it was a very data-driven professional development. And what happened was, people would learn, our educators would learn about certain strategies and approaches and so on, and then they'd be given unique opportunities to practice scenarios, real scenarios, of course role-playing, and then of course, the revolutionary Teach Live technology. And in that technology, they had a few scenarios. They practiced coaching an individual teacher, and they also got to observe me, teaching with the students that you saw up here and in coaching me. So it was pretty profound, and if you can turn the slide, I will show you. We had a lot of data collection throughout the 3-day series, so we could really make sure that we were hitting our goals and also planning and being flexible as needed for future days in our PD, professional development. So the first participant's comment you can see up here, and this is what she said after being in and coaching a teacher. She says, being in the hot seat was a challenge, but what challenges you grows you. The feedback was immediate and valuable, and I'm so glad that I had the opportunity to practice. Having my peers in there with me also was encouraging, and I believe we all learned in this process. Joyce. And I will tell you, a trend in the data was that there was a tremendous amount of learning going on. So we were very proud and excited to see learning and to actually be able to measure how effective the professional development was. This is the first of its kind in the nation to use Teach Live and some of the more cutting edge approaches that we did in this professional development series. So Osceola County has a lot to be proud of. I'd like to turn it over to one of UCF's own doctoral students and one of your district leaders, somebody else we're proud of here, and that will be Beth Davis. Come on up.
I just want to speak very quickly as a stakeholder. When I started my career as a literacy coach, I had the benefit of attending Just Read Florida's week-long trainings in the summer for several years. And unfortunately, that's an opportunity that is no longer available to our coaches and to our instructional leaders. And this is a fantastic opportunity for our math, science coaches, for our instructional leaders to actually practice some of the coaching techniques in a very safe, risk-free environment. I had the opportunity to work with the adult avatar, which is relatively new for the Teach Live program. I've also had opportunities to work with the student avatars, and it's just a fantastic opportunity. I'm very glad that we have forward-thinking people in our district like Ms. Luciano and Janice who grasp this with both hands and are giving us the opportunity to take advantage of it. Thank you.
During the recent Florida Association for Staff Development Conference in September, our district was awarded the 2014 Outstanding Professional Learning Practices Award for the Instructional Coaching Series with Teach Live. So we're very proud of that. It's the first time of our receiving that in our district. I'd like to give you the opportunity, board, to interact with the avatars. And so, Dr. Straub, are you ready to do the honors and switch over?
Yeah, we'll need to switch the displays over, and I'm going to bring this.
Okay.
If y'all can just bear with us while we bring them.
In the interest of time, I've actually done this already at UCF, so before you can dip your toe in the water.
Oh, are you stepping off the hot seat? You don't
Yeah, stepping off the hot seat.
No, I'm kidding.
No, I've done it. I know you're pressed for time.
No, thank you so much. I appreciate it. We, well, as we're bringing this monitor up, I'll drag it over once we can see, once it does start up. Yeah, I'll let you do that. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to interact with our middle school avatars. So here at your district, we work with the high school avatars, and they're the same kids, they're just aged differently. So we've got what we've got a mobile lab, and you actually have your own lab in a location here at Osceola. And like I said, you're one of the very first school districts to have that. And we've got, you just have to bear with us as we do this. In your mobile lab, also just so that you know, we're not having an additional piece of technology called the Xbox Connect. So if anybody here plays video games or is aware of Xbox Connect, that makes it even more immersive and interactive. So I think once we can get the VGA.
Yeah, I think so.
Here we go. Okay, and I'm going to need to do a silent relaunch really quickly. You could just bear with me. We had the system dormant, so we can just bear with me. We're going to do a quick relaunch.
So while she is setting up, just to share with you some of the next steps that we have going on with Teach Live. We're getting ready to start the next instructional coaching series with a new group of coaches. We'll be starting in November, and we'd love to have you come take a look at the coaches interacting with them. We also have a group of district instructional coaches that are interested in learning how to utilize this technology within the professional development that they provide out to other schools and to teachers. So we're really excited to be moving in that direction to be able to provide this further. As Dr. Straub mentioned, we actually have in our new professional development building a setup in one of the conference rooms that has a technology available for the coaches to be able to come in and utilize this with their PD. And with that, I see that we're ready.
Yes, I'm going to go ahead and let me
Put that on this screen share. Put that on the screen.
someday we'll have wireless. So let me just test the connection really quickly. And Sean, can you see me and hear me?
Oh, hi, Dr. Straub.
Hi, Sean. How are you doing this evening?
Well, I'm doing really good. How are you?
I'm doing really good.
There are lots of people. This is really embarrassing.
There are a lot of people. I know. You thought you were done with school for the day, didn't you?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I know we have you for a brief amount of time, so we wanted to give everybody an opportunity to talk. I'm going to just go ahead and quickly introduce everybody in the room. So everybody knows Sean here up in the front.
Yep. That's me. I'm Sean. It's nice to meet you all. Oh, it's really hits.
Yes, very exciting. So let's move over. Sean, who's sitting to your right? Who's there?
Ed.
Oh, hi, Mrs. Straub.
Good evening, Ed. How are you doing this evening?
Oh, I'm good, ma'am. Thank you.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you. And could you tell me who's sitting behind you?
Oh, Maria.
Jeez. Hi. Hi, Maria. I know you don't like crowds, so we're so happy that you're here with us. We really appreciate it. Thank you so much. And then who's sitting over to your side, Maria?
CJ. Huh? What? What's up? What's going on?
Hi, CJ. How is it? How are you doing?
Look at this. What's up with all the people?
I know.
Cool.
There's a lot of important people here to see you. You have to be on your best behavior.
You ruined the fun.
I know. And I'm going to pause the simulation for 1 second. We can have the behaviors modified for a level 0 all the way up to a level 5. So for demos, we put them at a level 0 so they get along with everybody, just so that you know. So you can't do that with the regular classroom. That's one of the nice things about Teach Live. Okay, well, resume the simulation. Now, CJ, who's over to your side?
Come on.
Yeah, what's up, miss? How'd
Hey,
it go?
Kevin, how are you doing this evening?
Yeah, all good, miss. It's all good.
Great, great. Okay, let's go back to the center of the classroom. And again, this is our middle school group of avatars, and we have these students, and they are also in high school, which is what we used on our research project here. So what we invite you to do is one of you board members would be willing to come down and just interact with the students, we'll give you an objective, and that objective could be to find out what books they read over the summer, or find out what their favorite class is, whatever that you want to, whoever would be interested. They won't bite.
Sure, I'll do it.
Oh, you're going to model. Okay, thank you so much, sir. So your objective for the students, you want to talk to them about what they read over the summer, or their favorite subject, or something else?
So those are,
You can choose whatever you
okay.
want.
Okay.
You'll stand like right about there.
Good afternoon, good evening, everybody.
Oh, hi, sir. Hi, I'm Sean. What's your name, sir?
My name is Mr. Wheeler.
Oh, Mr. Wheeler. It's nice to meet you, sir.
I've got a question for all of you. What books have you read this summer?
Oh, can I go first?
Sure.
Okay. Well, okay. So I like Rick Riordan. Do you know who he is?
I don't. What'd you read? What kind of books does he write?
Well, he writes like the best books. They're like Percy Jackson series.
Oh, okay. I know
You know,
Percy Jackson. Yeah,
you
okay.
know that one,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Okay, so he's taken it on a Roman twist because, he went to the Egyptians, but now he's going to the Romans. And so it was the son of Neptune where he goes to the Camp Jupiter. Then he becomes a Roman, but he's really Greek.
That's great. I'm glad you found books that you like. And what about everybody else? Sean, what books did you, oh no, I'm sorry, CJ, what books did you read?
What? I don't read books, I watch movies. What's the point of reading a book when all the good stuff is in the movie?
Well, the book's always better than the movie.
And the book is boring, it has the dull parts. Movies
So
have the best parts.
what was the last book you read, CJ?
Yeah. Don't remember.
Okay.
Most of them are on, anyway, like when you have to look them up, they're like online, so all you have to do is like look up the summary online, you get through it. Yeah, wait, I can honestly say like we had to read part of The Giver in class, yeah.
Okay. Did you like it?
No.
Okay. And the young lady to your right? Maria. I'm sorry, I forgot your name. Maria, what books have you read over the summer?
I went on a Jane Austen kick, so I read Sense and Sensibility, Northernburg Abbey, Pride and Prejudice again, and then that's right, I also did As You Like It, much Shakespeare.
Very good, very good. You're going to broaden your vocabulary with that kind of reading list. That's very good. And the young man in front of you. I'm sorry, I forgot your name, young man.
I'm Ed.
Ed, what books did you read this summer?
Reading Agent 21. I read it. It's good.
Hey, what's it about?
Oh, this kid, his parents die, and he gets recruited by it's kind of like the FBI or CIA, but they're they don't tell you ever who they really are, and he has to go and it's kind of like 007. That's the best way to put it.
Okay, is Agent 21 American or is he British?
Well, no, he's American, but he does go to Scotland to train.
Okay, and the young man sitting next to CJ, what's your name, young man?
Oh, yeah, hey. Dude, Kevin, but you can call me Kay.
It's okay, Kay. Kay, what books did you read this summer?
Yeah, well, like, to be real about it, like, not much in books, but I like, I get on like Wikipedia and everything, look some stuff up.
So what's the last book you read?
Probably like Dr. Seuss, man.
Good job, okay. Simulation for a moment and just talk to you about some different ways that this can be used in the district, and hopefully somebody else will come up next and have a quick interaction with the students. But you can use this for all different types of ways. You can do behavior management and learn some practices for how to engage the students in a positive way. You can make the behaviors perfect and angelic, and then make your misconceptions related to algebra very, very challenging. And so you can dial things up and down and control it in this type of environment and not harm real kids in the process. And that's what we're really excited. We can practice on avatars. So we're so fortunate to have you as a partner, and we really like the way that you guys are taking it too on your own. Do we have time for anybody else to step up?
Yes, we do. The chairman just said how excited he was that I did it. Mr. Chairman.
They'll be very nice. They will be very nice.
Oh, we want another volunteer?
Sure.
All right.
Okay.
Can you dial it up?
Oh my gosh.
Let's make it fun. I really want to see a little bit of. We'll do it.
We won't bring it to a level 5 behavior. Don't worry.
No, we don't know.
He could go home crying. I won't do it.
I don't want to get massacred.
No.
Originally, the
But
first time
you know,
the
the
first time
softballs
that
were
I
just
got
a little
up,
bit.
it was really, you kind of are a little bit nervous at first and, a little hesitant to say something, and you're thinking, okay, all eyes are on me and my teaching skills. But with time, when teachers really get accustomed to it, they forget about what's going on in their surroundings, and they really just concentrate on, they have a lesson plan and they have an objective in mind, and so they really, they forget about all of that and really focus on the lesson.
We're coming up with an objective.
Okay. All right. So this is level 0, right?
Yeah, level 1. Level 1, you have no.
Come on. All right. So let's start with let's start with Sean then.
Oh, okay.
Sean, you just told us about your books. How are you doing in math?
Well, math is pretty good. I mean, like, there are some things I don't understand as well. Like, sometimes with the positive and negatives, like, moving them across in, like, the linear equation thing, it, like, confuses me. Because, like, I think that you should have, anyway, I just get confused by that. But other than that, I'm doing pretty good.
Is there anybody?
Like, I get all my homework in.
Oh, yeah? Is there anybody at home helping you?
Well, yeah, when my mom gets done with work after dinner, she usually, like, will help me out. And, like, my dad's not really good at math at all, but my mom is.
Well, hang in there, okay? You'll get it eventually.
Oh, thank you, Mr.
Soto.
Soto. Oh, Mr. Soto. Thank you, Mr. Soto. Are you a math teacher?
No, I'm a school board member.
Oh, so you couldn't help me.
You're right. All right. What about you, Kay? How you doing with math?
Oh, yeah, man. Yeah, y'all learn quick. That's cool. That's cool. I get some teachers, they like ain't into it. They won't go there. But thanks for the cake, man.
Why do you like math so much?
Eh? Then for me. And the one thing I like about math is, like, for real, like, I can count my pennies and my dollars.
Well, that's important, isn't it?
No, man. Like, someday I'm gonna be like, roll Jay-Z rolling it,
And
that sort of thing.
And math would be useful for you at that time.
Yeah, or I get somebody like an accountant or somebody, they can do it for me, you know what I'm saying?
Can't argue with that. All right, man, hang in there. Good job. The young lady in the middle, CJ.
Yeah.
Now, you look like a math person. Why do you like math so much?
Yeah, so the reason why I like math is because that means in class I can get out my cell phone and teachers think I'm working on my calculator, but I'm not.
Well, that's a creative use for math.
Yeah,
all right.
it's the best, dude.
All right. And Maria,
Yes,
you don't like math, do you?
it's my favorite subject, actually.
Well, why is it your favorite subject?
I like the problem solving. It's just a puzzle and you just work out the simple steps to find the answer, although it doesn't seem obvious at first.
Well, that's wonderful. Continue the good work.
Thank you.
And the front one is
Ed.
Ed.
Ed,
Ed,
yes.
you thought I was gonna leave you off the hook, right?
Yeah, I did actually.
But I bet that you probably have the most interesting math story to tell us. So, what is your favorite subject in math that you've learned so far?
Oh, definitely geometry. Yeah.
And why is that, Ed?
Oh, well, because you can build things, and like we built like, well, me and my dad built a cat tree, so we had to measure everything, and then like had to like help my mom hang blinds and everything, so that was all geometry too. So that's like the most useful math, I think.
Well, I'm very proud of all of you. It seems like you all enjoy math very much and know how much it's going to help you in the future. Good job.
And this feeling that you have when you get up in front of the avatars is what we call suspension of disbelief. And so it's essentially you're making eye contact and you're talking to a digital character and you forget the rest of the room is there, and it's the closest thing to the active teaching that we can simulate. So I don't know that we have any more. Do we have more time? If anybody, you have some interest, you want to step in?
We're good.
You're okay? Okay. All right, well, thank you so much. The avatars, I'm sure will want to get a chance to say goodbye.
Thank you. Do you have any questions or anything for any of our team?
Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. It's our pleasure, really it is.
I am amazed by it. I think it's absolutely
I have
phenomenal.
a question. I have a question. When you dial it up to say a level 5 or 6, when you dial it up that, I mean, I used to be a college instructor, but when I spoke, they all listened because I was a judo instructor, and if you didn't, you got pulled in front of the class. Have you had a teacher that went up there and you got to that level 5? Did the teacher freak out, or was there like, how did that work? Let's try that.
So we only do a level 5 if we have prior approval from our team that they're going to have a counselor there to debrief for the situation, because simulation is so powerful. Now judo moves, all of that, I don't know about.
Can't do that.
But if like at a level 5, they will attack the way that you look. CJ can give you some gestures that are not nice. They curse at you, and it's very chaotic. And so we definitely want to protect our teachers and help them debrief in a positive situation.
Okay.
But generally, it's a good. I'll give you a milder example. So we have an adult avatar that you all have worked with, and you might have somebody that comes in and is confrontational with them as a parent and says, your child's reading scores aren't good, you need to do X, Y, Z. Well, we run this scenario a lot, and we had one young man interacting with the adult avatar, and the avatar started crying. He made the mom cry.
Oh.
And he's like, make her stop, make her stop. And you can't just say, stop in real life, but in simulation we said, okay, pause. How's that going? What could you do differently? And so he said, oh my gosh, that was awful. I could try a different approach. And so we went back and changed his tone, and then he was able to get some information out of her and realize that she worked in the evenings and see what additional resources he could get for her. So it was just a different approach, and the simulation allows you to do that. And so he had a good outcome as a result.
And it really is a safe environment. If you mess up, like in this case, that individual, probably is not going to say whatever they had said that made the avatar cry in a real life situation. So it allowed for them to kind of rethink their approach to that situation, so that when they are encountered with something similar in the future, they know that they need to treat it a little differently. So the other thing I want to point out is that we normally plan out the scenarios in advance. So there's a certain level that is given, 1 through 5, like Dr. Straub mentioned, and depending on the situation, there's kind of an outline or a lesson plan, if you will, of the type of interaction that's going to take place.
So now on the other end, the 5 students are represented by 5 different individuals that are on mic and they're doing this?
So you're asking, how does it work?
Yes.
And see, Janice told me she'd throw me that question. So essentially, I'll be evasive in such a way because we really don't talk to people about how it works. We just say, does it work? And our research shows that it does. But you're a smart group of people, so I'll tell you, it is a hybrid intelligence model. It's not artificial reality. Artificial intelligence, excuse me. Artificial intelligence is not at a place now where it would feel real and interactive. So this is a mix, like I said, it's a hybrid. It's got some pre-recorded behaviors, and there's also a human in the loop that's orchestrating it to make the reaction and program the different interactions that you have and make it feel more authentic.
Because I like the response about the school board member not being able to teach the math.
Well, I was going to say, obviously, a level 5 with this would be like coming to a regular school board meeting as well.
Debate and discussion.
But you bring up a good point that you can simulate any human interaction. This is what we call sandbox technology. And so we've got these 5 avatars. We have them as high school students. We eventually want to fund elementary avatars. But you can also, let's say you said, these don't look like our kids. We want different backstory. We would work with you and have them look different. So for instance, at the University of Central Florida, we use it to train our fundraisers. And they have an adult avatar that looks like a very rich woman, and you have to go and ask her for money. So there's all different ways that you can use this. We're educators. The people that invented this were educators. So we're so happy that they have come up with this thing to simulate teaching because it is such a complex act. So.
All right, Mr. Wheeler.
First off, I'm thrilled that you're here, but there's a backstory to this. Last year I was chairman of the Central Florida Public School Boards Coalition, and I engaged Dr. Robinson at UCF and Dr. Good at University of Florida. And I also, along the way, I got to know Dan Holzenbeck, who's like the #2 guy at UCF. So between Dr. Robinson and Dr. Holzenbeck, they wanted to host us in the worst way for a coalition meeting. So we went, we did a meeting there, and out of the 10 districts, only about 7 showed up. But, and this was one of the demonstrations at that meeting. And I'm thrilled that we're doing it, but the surprising thing, because Melba, you and I were in the meeting, is none of the other school districts are doing this. And I was stunned, but it's great that we're doing it. I'm thrilled that we're doing it. First time I did it, again, I didn't know, I thought it was going to be like Xbox Connect. I didn't know, and it was great. And that's why I got up, and I was far more comfortable today than I was last year when I did it. So I appreciate that you're here. Please give our fondest regards to Dr. Robinson on our behalf and Dr. Holzenbeck. And we just hope that this keeps on growing between Osceola Schools and UCF. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Great presentation.
Good presentation. Thank you very much.
Say goodbye, I'm sure, kids. Okay. You guys want to say goodbye to our friends?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Oh, my gosh. Oh, bye, everybody.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
So now we have to figure out which avatar was who. 5 of us.
And just to have the final word, I just want to say that we are truly at the cutting edge of professional development, as you noticed, and it has been recognized at the state level. And we continue to find ways to engage teachers in the highest level possible to make sure that the quality of education we deliver is also at the highest level possible. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. President. Thank you for your time this evening.
For the record, I was at the Knights Tulane game on Saturday.
Michael, do you want to bring your team back up?
Right. Just to try and be quick with what we had to cover.
Remember, we're not Avatar.
This
No,
is
you're not
live.
You're not nearly that cool, Mike.
Real people, real feelings.
Thanks again.
Dr. Ace, can we go back to that slide that was up just before?
Oh, yes.
The one slide that was just 2 quick questions, if I may. Yeah, that page right there.
That is your station.
Very good. Thank you.
Okay, so the discussion, Mr. Long, if I remember right, was around, we had some things specific initiatives around the top 10%. So the question is, what are we doing for the other 90? And we were discussing the different pathways that we're specifically engaging all 8th grade kids all the way through high school, but specifically making sure we know what their interests are, pairing those programs up with interest and high-wage jobs.
Great. Just 2 quick comments. I've been trying for a few years to expand TECO into the trades, the local trades, with all the housing growth and construction growth we have around here. I understand we're going in that direction. It may take a while to get there, to get like roofing and plumbing and drywall and et cetera, air conditioning, electrical. Where it says workforce there, going in workforce, I would like to see, because I've heard from many different construction trade business people, to do apprenticeship programs. And this is an area we could expand in. Could you spend a little bit of time and explain to everyone in the room, including myself, what wheel classes are?
Well, at each one of the different levels, students have the opportunity to actually be involved in either exploratory and elementary, which is opportunities for kids to be involved in different things such as STEM or stuff like that. But the wheel classes at a middle school would be opportunities within their schedule where we would say different things that would line up with what's up here. They would be considered more or less electives, but those are opportunities to vertically align with opportunities throughout the high school.
Okay, I think I understand. So during the academic day, there would be a slot where they could take a class throughout the school year that would align going to whatever area they're going.
That class actually has the opportunity to rotate or change at some point. Mr. Allen?
Yeah, that could look different at different middle schools. Originally, I think the name wheel came because it's a rotation, whether that's every 9 weeks that the classes would rotate, perhaps from from a STEM class to a foreign language class and so forth. I could also take on a semester class as well. So semester, and then the next group of kids goes to another wheel class. So synonymous really with elective class.
Okay, thank you.
Are you done?
Yes, thank you.
Well, before I begin, I have to first commend you, Superintendent and Dr. Eggs, your team, on the job well done. I know that this takes a long time and it's still a work in progress, but I think that we can safely say that you have built a foundation for the students in this county to not get left behind. And for that, I would say, you know that very good. There's always a second component to this, and it's interesting that we had a presentation right now about cutting edge technology that we're using for training our teachers. We're using cutting edge methodology, technology to train our students, to get our students into these pathways. There's always a component of how are we letting the community know about these great things that we're doing, and how are we marketing it, because once you have the foundation, once you have your systems in place, it is another thing for the culture to follow, for people to follow the acceptance, for that student to be excited about it, for the parent to be excited about it, for the community to be excited about it. So I'm pretty sure that there's plans, and if you have anything that you're thinking about of how we're going to go ahead and promote this to the county, to the rest of the, at least in Central Florida, to let people know, look, in Osceola County, we're doing these cutting edge things to train our teachers and to prepare our students for college. We're definitely not left behind, and we want the people here to know it, to be proud of it, because that in turn is going to create the culture that's going to be using this system, that are going to be excited to be, a part of it.
Well, Mr. Soto, one of the things that really was happened because of the career fairs was that each one of the different departments actually had a booth set up. And it was so affirming with what you're talking about at those career fairs, where we would talk about the matrices, whether it's at high school, middle school, or at elementary school. These are the actual pathways that we're talking about when we talk about a program that's in there. So anytime we have the opportunity like that, we actually go out and talk, whether it's at Rotaries or chambers, The other thing that we're doing is in each one of these transition years, like when the 8th grade gets ready to go to the high school, the 9th grade, we have those 9th grade orientation nights where we actually are sitting down in the spring with all of these high school 8th grade to be high school students and talking about these are the different things we have going on. But again, it's with that student and that discussion for each one of those career lessons that specifically Gladys and Sarah have outlined, that these things don't happen by chance. It's by specific interactions with those kids, because they just don't walk in 9th grade and know what they want to be. They have to have the opportunity to experience it. So anytime we have the opportunity within the district, within the community to actually talk about this, any one of these staff members goes out and will do that.
But Dr. Riggs, I'm pretty sure that we're getting it to the students. What I mean is something broader in terms of the community knowing what we're doing. And let me give you an example. I don't know if anybody here watches sports. I watch college sports, and I'm always looking to see that one commercial that the university produced comes off probably right before the 3rd quarter, and it shows we are whoever, you know. And what it's doing is it's promoting its organization, and basically what I would like to see is in the future, if you could explore this, you know, if there's room for us to do that as well.
Right.
You know, just because we're a school district and we're a government agency, doesn't mean that we don't have a marketing to do. And I was very encouraged with what Dana presented on last school board meeting. You know, that we're making the investment to go ahead and communicate digitally with the way that we know how. And this is a time that we can go ahead and take, you know, and let the community know what we've been doing, how we're progressing.
Right.
So that's something for the future. Maybe there's going to be something more for that.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Mrs. Horn?
This is kind of off of the subject, but in a little bit. Going back, good presentation.
Thank you.
I'm a former banker and for many years, and I'm concerned that we have students graduating not knowing how to balance their checking account. Some of them have the mentality of, oh, how can I be overdrawn? I still have checks left. And now with the point of sale transactions, you know, they don't realize that sometimes it takes more than 24 hours. What are we doing as far as teaching our students that kind of
In the last legislative session, one of the things that was changed in there was that as each one of these high school students graduates, they have to have an actual credit that is a component of financial literacy. So each one of our students, as they go through now, will have to have some class that has those elements in there. And I think the community and the state as a whole has recognized that. We had 2 or 3 community members actually reach out to us last year expressing that same concern. What are we doing? So I thought it was very affirming that the legislation has done that. We've made sure that our economic classes and our math classes that are specific have those actual elements in there. So we're definitely aware of that and are working on that, because you're right. When they walk out, they've got to be able to manage their money, or before long it becomes really a downward spiral, and they can get themselves into a lot of financial hurt real quick. So thank you for bringing that up.
Thank you.
I think that's true on both the micro and the macro level, making sure they not only understand how to manage their own finances, but how finances actually work in a more global perspective. Mr. Wheeler?
I've got a series of questions. First off, let's go back to Reach the Stars. I'd like to know where these students are applying to and where they're getting accepted to, like last year, this year, et cetera. I didn't see anything relative to that.
Yes, sir. Mr. Wheeler, I sent you an email over the weekend with this presentation.
Right.
And the specifics of that Reach for the Stars program, the number of students, the number of high schools. We're going to bring that back to you in December.
Okay. Next one, I want to go back to UCF. You're waiting for a pending agreement with UCF, an articulation agreement with UCF.
Yes, sir.
Will those courses be taught in our schools? Will they actually bring instructors in our schools teaching?
We haven't worked out the specifics of that agreement, but our actual intent there is for our high school students to be able to go on their campus to get a 4-year degree. That's one of the things that we're trying to work with in that early admissions process, but the intent is for them to be able to go there.
Well, and just to elaborate further, I was just in Miami, and I was at the Performing Arts High School there, and they've got University of Florida in the school. You can actually go from high school to 4-year degree in the same location.
Right.
I mean, without going on, without ever, and that's University of Florida based in Gainesville. They're doing it down in Miami.
Right, and our intentions is to be able to hammer out those specifics, but we've been working through the process with the University of Central Florida to be able to get that done.
Okay, and test scores. There was, unless I missed, there was nothing that showed how our AP exam scores are this year versus last year. Are we improving? How are we doing on an average compared to the state? Are we doing on an average ACT, SAT? How are we doing as compared to the counties surrounding us and the state? Are we going in the right direction? Is it going backwards? And how many students are taking it out of our total universe?
Okay. Would you like me to provide that information for you?
I think that'd be important for the entire board to see as it relates to this, yes.
Okay, ACT, SAT comparison by the district.
And then applications, college applications. How many applications are being, are student, on an average, how many college applications each student doing? And out of those, if they're applying, say, 4 or 5 schools, et cetera, how many are they getting into? What percentage of our students are applying to schools with a 30% acceptance rate or lower, which is the highly competitive schools? For financial aid, how much money are these students getting? How are we helping them? And what's the average? Are we getting more this year than last year? What type of students are getting more or less, et cetera? And how many are getting, enough to pay for 4 years? Well, it may not be a scholarship. It may be based on financial need. I didn't see any numbers relative to where we're going with financial aid and how these students are or are not being helped. You mentioned it in there, but there was no data relative to that either.
Right. If you remember, Mr. Wheeler, after the graduations last year, I sent the board a summary of what each high school had actually compiled in financial aid, the millions of dollars we had brought in. I'll be glad to share that with you again. But each one of our comprehensive high schools, 8, 10 million, at least a high school is what they bring in. But I'll be glad to share that with you.
And how does that compare to surrounding counties? I mean, how does that compare to Dr. Phillips High School or Apopka High School or Haines City High School, which is not a criticism, but I mean, that's great. The more money we get, the better. But we need to measure ourselves against others to see are we really doing that great, or is there a lot of room for improvement? And then, out of the 41% going to college, what percentage of that 41% is going to Valencia versus a 4-year university?
Right. And we would be able to break some of that information down, but we wouldn't be able to break it down, especially sometimes it is delayed coming in. In other words, some of that graduation or the data that we showed up on the actual district slides there's a delay in a couple of years us actually getting that. So I think the data that's actually on that slide where it shows the counties is 2011 data, which is the most current data that is put out at this time. Okay, we're waiting for the release of 12.
Okay, that's fair enough. The next question is, out of that 41%, obviously if you got data from 2011, you got data from 2010, 2009, 2008, are we going in the right, are we increasing, and are we increasing at the same rate of the surrounding counties and the state? Is this, like the state might have been at 53%, maybe they're at, whatever percent they're at now. Are we growing at the same rate, or are we growing slower than them?
Okay.
If we're growing slower, how do we accelerate that? And finally, what kind of comparative analysis did you do as it relates to what we're doing in best practices in other school districts around? Like you showed us on your presentation, you got school districts that are over 60%, and we're at 41% in 2011. What are they doing different that we can adopt? And on top of that, then what are the other, while it's tough to say, you don't want to compare yourself to Lake Highland or Trinity Prep, which is fair. I mean, I realize that, but they must be doing some things that we can adopt also. So I want to know what, as far as best practices, have we adopted from other districts? And have we even looked at what other districts are and are not doing who are more successful than us?
Right. I think whenever we look at the college readiness and that percentage, and whenever the Gott College, the actual efforts of the Gott College got together, when they outlined those strategies, they were actually talking about what are some of the strategies they've seen, and they're actually doing a meeting where we'll actually look at those strategies. But what we can do is look at the comparative analysis, look at those over time, before 2011, 2010, and then actually look at the strategies they have in place and compare that. I'll be glad to put that together for you.
But on top of it, and that's great, but call the other districts and see what they're doing.
And what I'll do is I'll be glad to put that together for you.
Okay, I mean, don't do it for me. Do it for our kids. I'm not asking for this for me. We need to be as successful as we can. I think that you've got a good plan. I think there's a lot of specifics that really need to be plugged. I mean, it's tough to measure some of this stuff because what you showed, this is good, don't get me wrong, but there needs to be, there's an old saying, if you can't measure it, you can't manage it. And there was a lot of data in there that I just didn't see. For instance, out of the college applications, how many of our students qualify for a financial waiver because they just can't afford, just like free and reduced lunch? And I don't know what that number is, and how does that compare to the districts around us? And are the districts around us, with those kids who do qualify for a financial waiver for the application, are they more successful with those students than we are? And I don't know that we are or aren't, but you need that data in order to, you know, benchmark where you want to go and where you've been. And I just, again, what I saw is a good starting point, but there's a lot of data that I just didn't see.
Okay. Make sure, if you'll give me those questions, I'll be glad to get you the answers for them.
I'll send you an email within the next
Okay.
week.
Any other questions? Ms. Luciano, anything?
Yeah, I have some as well. Mine are somewhat statements, but first of all, I agree with what Jay's talking about with regard to making sure we truly understand where we are. I would also say that I understand tonight's presentation wasn't about necessarily getting to all the specifics of the data, but giving an overview of the programs as a whole and what you're doing as a department to make sure that we're moving in the right direction. But I think we do need to see the data so that we can understand, as well as board members and as a district, you know, where are the points that we need to continue to improve on. You did hit on something that I was going to ask about, which is that we're looking at 2011 data on regard to the post-secondary enrollment. When is that new data released? I mean, is it really, I remember looking at this in 2012, I guess it was, when Dr. Polinsky and I were talking about this very number, and now here we are in 2014, and we're still looking at the same number, still thinking Osceola County's at 41% comparatively. Are we tracking data separately that we can use where we don't have to rely upon this? Is this the only data source that we can rely upon?
Well, because of the 2-year delay, Tim, it takes time for us to be able to get that in. In other words, we don't actually have that. That was actually the rationale for coming up with the GOT plan tab and also the thermometer data, where we could start tracking it ourselves. And when we're looking at that, we want to make sure that we're having some real-time data that we're looking at as we go forward. Right. I agree with you totally. The delay causes a little bit of a problem with you being able to adjust, but we're waiting for that source to come back from the DOE.
Yeah, and I recognize that, and I think that helps alleviate, or would help alleviate some of the questions that Mr. Wheeler and probably others have as well about, you know, are we really making progress, or are we still looking at data at this point that's 3 years old and saying, well, we hope that what we're doing is good. I was going to comment, though, that I think the thermometer stuff is great. I think the GOT plan stuff is great. I think the overall, and you had showed us the graph of the articulation from elementary school all the way up through. We commented on that last time you presented. I think that's a great plan that you guys are working on there. I think as a whole, we're doing a lot of really good things, and I think that's important for you to hear, at least from me, if not from the rest of the board, that you're working hard, you're putting strategies in place, and you're trying to deal with the masses. You're trying to deal with nearly 60,000 students and creating a plan that's going to fit everybody while making sure that nobody individually falls through the cracks. And I think that's important to note. I would say, though, as well, and this is something that Mr. Wheeler did hit on, is with like Reach for the Stars and a program or a hybrid of that, can we be more effective? Are there things that we're leaving on the table that we maybe need to continue to be more robust in, and making sure that, you know, that top 10%, which was identified as 103 seniors and the juniors that haven't yet applied or been part of that, can we be more effective, identify more students, and do a better job of helping them move into those top tier colleges and universities around the country? I know your heart, and I know where you guys are at, and I know what you want. I think for me, and particularly with conversations that I've had in the community, I'd like to see what we're doing there to make sure that there are those opportunities for these top tier students to get into the high level universities that we want to see them be able to get to. Also, I would add to that obviously that then ties directly back to economic development opportunity for our county as well, and making sure that people see that, you know what, this school district does have the capacity to put out some of the highest performing students that compete not only on a national level but a global level as well, and we're putting out Harvard and Yale and so on and so forth grads. I think that's an important factor. I know we have the students that have the aptitude to do it, and they can make it happen, but I'm just not sure if all the connection points are in place right now for us to make sure that that is happening.
Yes, sir.
One of the things that I saw on the slides too is last year, Liberty and OHS were the two lowest with post-secondary enrollment plans for the students. Liberty, I don't remember the exact number, was somewhere in the 40–50% range when everyone else was in the 80s. Osceola High School was in the 70% range. Have those initiatives been identified at those campuses as to why that wasn't happening or what we need to do to help them move along? And are we tracking progress this year that's going to really change that number dramatically?
Yes, sir. Our goal is for 100% of each one of them. We've worked with both of those institutions and also with Zenith, where they weren't tracking it at all, to make sure that each one of those high schools was hitting at 100% when they walk across there. So back to when we look at each one of them, there were specific barriers that maybe was in place, but we're working with those career specialists and counselors to ensure that that takes place. And each one of the schools actually has their own thermometer where they're tracking, and they're also posting the students' pictures with their acceptance letters, either whether it may be into a university or a college or into the armed services or into a career. So they're already kind of posting those pictures and getting that kind of synergy around that.
That's great.
Yes,
I enjoyed walking onto the high school campuses and seeing the thermometers, so you know as well. I think that's a great initiative that you guys put together there. I think my last points or two would be with regard to the partnership we have with Valencia. I think it's a great partnership, and I genuinely think that we are very fortunate to have them in our community and have them as a partner. I think when we think about encouraging so many of our students to say Valencia really is a good start, or there's an opportunity for you to do a direct connect over to UCF, again, a great asset. But I also want to make sure that we're thinking beyond the borders of Osceola County and beyond the borders of even the state of Florida, to making sure that we're telling students that although Valencia is here, it's a viable asset and it's a great tool for you. Don't think that Valencia is the only option that exists for you. And I say that because we have these additional counselors or career resource counselors, whatever they were, that Valencia has done with us in the partnership. I think that's great. But I also would like to see an opportunity for students to say, you know what, I don't want to go to school in the state of Florida. I want to go out west and pursue this, or go up to the Northeast and go to another school. I want to see those opportunities continue to expand for us as well. I know I'm preaching to the choir when I say these things, I really do, but I think it's important as we have a presentation like this that we just kind of get to explore and express our viewpoints as well of what we're looking at. The last thing I would comment on, I think it comes back to a conversation we had a few months ago, Board, had to do with counselors and the number of counselors that we do and don't have on our school campuses, how stretched they are and how much they're trying to do for such a large mass of students. And that they're spread so incredibly thin that sometimes it leaves them not being able to be as effective as they want to. Board, I would just say that if this is something that we're all talking about as being vitally important to us, as we start looking at budgeting and working with the superintendent going forward, we may need to have a serious conversation about what are we doing to make sure that we expand the opportunities for counselors on our high school campuses to make sure that they do have what they need to help support and encourage and also provide a very clear path for these students to get where it is that we're all talking about wanting them to get. So,
answer your question.
I don't know if I had a question.
About 41%. One of the reasons.
It was more rhetorical.
Well, one of the reasons given that for our lower number was specifically because of the Poinciana area geographically. It is the farthest from any college Valencia campus, anyways, in their service area. So that was where they were noticing there was a lower number, but that was a contributing factor when I was in a meeting a year or two ago.
Thank you, Mr. Soto.
Yeah, actually it goes back to the data. So because we have, is this the first year? Is this 2013, 2014? I'm just going to call it what you've been calling it, which is thermometer data. Is this the first year that you have this data?
Yes, sir.
So we don't have the 20.
First year it was tracked.
All right, and so this represents the students that graduated in May.
Yes, sir.
All right. So from this data set, we'll be able to go ahead and get a pretty accurate estimate of what our 2014 college going rate would be in, correct?
The college going rate is going to be delayed.
I understand that.
Right.
We depend on that data set. I'm just saying could this data give us the only
way we could do that, Calvin, is to really rely on the student to voluntarily submit that back to us as we go through the process.
And Dr. Eggs, we could do that.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So, and actually, wouldn't you even say that would be a pretty good estimator that we can go ahead and just see?
Absolutely.
A little bit, we don't need to wait on the data that we get from the big data set that will show us, it'll show us more. But at least here we could say, look, you know what, we're not 41% anymore, safely. Well, I know what you're saying. There's problems with the reporting.
Yeah, you would be comparing two different mechanisms by which you actually are gathering the data. And when we looked at going into it this year, we were looking at trying to purchase a piece of software that would allow us to actually manage those career plans, interact with the students during high school, well, actually through middle school to high school, all to post-secondary, but it was cost prohibitive at the time to actually do that. So when we got to working on the Got Plans tab, we knew that we already had that within the software that we were purchasing. But our plans is to be able to do that once we get the mechanism worked out where we can do it. So there's 2 or 3 pieces of information there. We want to make sure that we're comparing apples to apples and what we're looking at. So.
Understand.
Any other questions?
No, I think the last comment I would just make, I somewhat made it earlier, is I'm really encouraged, and I think this goes to Kelvin's point about marketing and changing the perception of what we're doing as a whole. And I want to come back to say that, as I said at the beginning, I genuinely appreciate the work that you guys are doing and your team is doing. I really do. And that goes really across the board to everybody sitting around here and our campuses as well. But I do think there's an important piece of making sure that we begin to change the dialogue in our community so that people do know we're being really purposeful about working in this direction, that we're letting people know that there are opportunities that are available to them. And it doesn't matter whether or not they ever thought college was an option for them, whether or not their socioeconomic status supported or not. I think to Kelvin's point about really changing the message, which we've been doing, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying we haven't done any of this, but just in a really robust fashion, I think is really going to be important, because it really ties into Dr. Brizendine and Mr. Allen, the work that you guys are doing as well at the elementary and middle school levels, of letting every student know what we're talking about here. Yes, we can have conversation about the top 10%, and we should have conversation about the top 10%, and we do. But every student in Osceola County should be thinking about and talking about it from a very early onset about what it is that they want to do and the importance of every single day that they're sitting in that classroom and every single day that the professionals are pouring their hearts and their minds and their talents into them. So if we continue to change that conversation as a whole from a district-wide level, I think that we can have a profound impact on our community, what they see as the options and opportunity that are available to them. And really that lends then into the things like the groundbreaking we just had with UCF and the sensor technology and all that's coming into our community as well, letting people know that there are jobs that are coming and they need to make sure they're prepared to get them. So.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Mr. Wheeler.
I've got one final question, and that is, because we've got such a large ratio of students to guidance counselors, okay, and we're, are we setting ourselves up for less success than we would like? Because I don't know the answer, but I've got to believe a large part of getting us to where we want our students to be is with these students having access to their guidance counselors for what they need. And the guidance counselors, I know, have got the desire to do it, but it's just, they're just spread so thin. So I guess the question is, can we really accomplish what we want with the limited, with the ratios that we have students to guidance counselors?
Well, Jay, what your claim is that the barrier for us accomplishing this is the pupil-teacher ratio to the guidance counselors, is what I'm hearing you say.
I'm asking, how likely is it that we can succeed with the ratios that we have with where we want to go? I'm not suggesting that.
Okay, well, let's just take Gladys's position, for example, with the Reach for the Stars and working with the top 10%. How many seniors do you think we have this year?
Probably 4,500.
4,500, so the top 10% would be what?
450.
Okay, so we got one person for 450 students. How successful interaction do you think he or she could be? The high school guidance counselors are no different. Got one counselor that's working with all seniors, and he or she's working, she meets with each one of those seniors during September. How much time do you think he or she could actually spend with them?
That's my point. That's why I'm asking it.
But I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I think that is the issue. There are various mitigating issues and barriers for a student being career and college ready. I'm not going to stand up here and tell you that every student ought to go to college when 70% of our jobs do not require it.
Agreed.
So what the efforts you're talking about is on 30% of our students, and then we're breaking that down to 10%. All of those career pathways are very, very important to me. And I want to make sure that whenever we're looking at it, that we're giving each one of those pathways the same emphasis. The student that goes out to TECO and becomes an electrician is just as important to me as the student who might go to Harvard.
You misinterpreted my question.
Okay, I just want to make sure we get that right.
My question isn't necessarily just for the student to go to college, for that student to be successful, to your point. And that success could be the military, it could be a trade, it could be college.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're right. I mean, there is not a one-size-fits-all. But again, we've got that ratio where I don't know that for us to help each one of these students be successful, a guidance counselor can't do much guidance counseling, you know, when the universe is this big versus a universe this big.
Okay, so let's talk about what it would cost to actually add a guidance counselor at each comprehensive high school. 60,000 times 10.
Plus times 7.
Okay, so I mean, that's what you're talking about there, on a budget that we're already in the red.
May I also interrupt and say that, Jay, just maybe 2 months ago, we were sitting at a meeting where you said we needed to have more social workers.
Right.
Again, this is what I say to you. There is every single department that will come to you and say, we need more people. We look at our entire budget, we talk to our administrators, we look at our formulas, and we have to determine what we can do with the money that we have in our budget. Okay? So, and I just want to mention one other thing. Thank you. Thank you so much to the team. You've done an excellent job. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Just wanted to mention one other thing is that just to remind the board that when we started our welcome back with our administrators in August, do you remember the theme? It was career and college readiness. And as we're working on our state of education, that's exactly where we're going with this. Because, so Kelvin, we're going back to what you mentioned. It's really informing our community and letting them know that this is the direction. As a matter of fact, we had a conversation because some parents were notifying some of the upcoming board members in regards to promotion ceremonies or graduations in elementary and middle schools. My response was, we will not have graduations in elementary or middle schools. We will celebrate the children who are being promoted, but what we want is our children to actually graduate from our high schools. That's the direction in which we're going in. So I just want you to know that as a team, that's what we want to see. Good. Thank you.
You know, Superintendent, I just want to respond to that. And, you know, I just wanted to be known at least how important it is for me that we do get the message out. And thank you, Mr. Weisshire, for your really eloquent explanation as to why. But it really is that at some point, the community and the county has to say, you know what, because that 41.9% looms heavy. And Dr. Akes, I think that it was clear that what I would like is at least for you to get together with your statisticians and find a way to do a sample that we can say, hey, this sample, however, the way that we got it, it shows that we're not at 42%. I don't want to wait 2-3 years for that. Because there's been efforts already done by this district that can reflect on this thermometer data just by looking at the slide that we have right now showing. And finally, you know, when we let the community know through our web portal that you're redesigning and you're putting considerable resources into it, or social media, and we try to go ahead, we shouldn't really be too shy about what kind of expense we have to invest in that, because I think that all of this, for it to be truly, truly effective, I think that we need the community to know, to buy in, and to respond with pride to everything that's going on here. And I would like to see, you know, things that other organizations have done. And I'm talking about, yeah, even colleges. And why not, even if it's short term? I think that we're taking a turn in a certain corner as to how we're proceeding with the education in this county. And we're not gonna be left behind in Central Florida, all right? And that survey that we're gonna do is gonna show the beginnings of that. And when people find out our training program for our teachers, find out about college, that's what people should be talking about at least, you know, when the opportunity does arise. So, you know, I think that that's I think that is a good place to put our resources, at least some resources, and I hope that we have them available. That's basically it.
Superintendent?
There's something that I have realized, and that is that we as a community, as a school community, we're very humble. And there are times, and this goes to exactly what you're saying, Kelvin, there are so many wonderful things that we're doing, and we really don't market it. And I agree with you. And we had this conversation just recently at our table and saying all the wonderful things that we're doing and are happening, and awards that people are getting, the Education Foundation, all of these great things, and we simply do not go out into the community and share those things. And it really is my responsibility to ensure with Dana that all of that gets out. But you're absolutely correct. I think we are sometimes, we just do it. We just do it, we do it well, and we forget to tell people we're good at what we do.
That's, and you know what, and that is very common. By the way, you know, you probably don't see that as much as private or public big universities or organizations. So I'm not surprised, but I think that, Superintendent, I think that that you understand what I'm saying. And you know, when we began the school board meeting, you know, I try to make my comments sincere. So sometimes if I don't have one, I just won't make one. But I tell you, seriously, I was so impressed by this that I wanted it to, and I shared it amongst lawyers and everything. People like it. You know, if it wasn't for this, I would have made the faux pas wearing jogger pants when I shouldn't have. And I tell, no, but seriously, it was just so much fun to read when, especially for me, where I don't get a lot of fun stuff to read hardly. It's all very serious and kind of a downer. So yeah, I want to promote. I want people to know just how good we are. Anyways, we belabored the point enough.
Hey, the comment I want to make is, and Dr. Akes, and as I said, please know that this conversation, you know, Clyde deals with this a lot. You know, this board kind of gets excited about something with facilities, and we see something and we start talking about it. I think for me, the most important thing, most important thing for you to know is that the dialogue that we're having and the conversation we're having isn't a criticism. It's really an edification of what you're already doing, and it's an encouragement for us to continue to look for what the next boundary that we need to go beyond really is. And I say that because it's important for me. I know how hard all of you guys are working, and when I say that collectively about the people in this room and those that aren't here, I know how hard you guys work day in and day out. And I know that sometimes it can seem frustrating for us to maybe sit here and say, well, why aren't we doing this, or why aren't we doing this? And you're thinking, well, yeah, if we had the budget to do it, or we had the time, or we had this. This is good, though. When you get a school board that's having this long of a conversation about something like this, as educators, as professionals, it'd be my hope that the takeaway isn't negative, but the takeaway is very positive, and it's very encouraging to say we have a board that's really thinking beyond what we've already accomplished and beyond just saying, okay, well, we're checking off some boxes, but really looking at how can we truly be what we say our vision and our mission really is, and to really outperform not just everybody in Central Florida when we talk about post-secondary enrollment or any other aspect of our measurements, but really to be the best school district in the state of Florida and beyond. And so my words, I hope you receive as words of encouragement, not only about what you're doing, but also an opportunity for all of us to work collectively, us from the governance and the budget and the policy and the strategic planning side, to work alongside of each one of you as experts to say, what we're doing is good. It's never going to be enough. There's always more for us to strive for. We've got 58,000 students that are counting us every single day. We've got more than 300,000 residents that are counting on us to make a truly profound difference in the lives of these children and families and ultimately this community. And so we're a team, and we're only going to get there if we have these conversations as a team. So thank you. Melba?
It's funny because I had written on the piece of paper here, thank you. And that's really what I was going to say, is thank you to the board, because in reality, we have often spent 2 hours talking about nonsense. And this is the one time that we spent 2 hours talking about student achievement. And I really, really appreciate that. And it's true, we all get a little sensitive because we work so diligently and we create these PowerPoints, and then all of a sudden it seems to be a little nitpicking. But the bottom line is that it's important to know that you want to know more and that we can come together and produce that for you. So I am very appreciative of the fact that we just spent 2 hours talking about what is important to make our students become successful.
And the expectations are very high.
From me, not from you, Jay.
Don't be so sure.
Okay? I don't appreciate when you go there.
Thank you, Melba. I appreciate your point, and it's well received as well.
I
Yes,
really
sir.
appreciate the time too, and I don't take it as a criticism, I take it as constructive feedback, and I appreciate exactly what Ms. Luciana just said. But the one thing that I've learned to appreciate about this school board is that I think you are sticking to the right topics, and the times that you do work together and the discussions you have are really good. And I tell my staff the same thing. Anything that comes out of a discussion with a parent, with a teacher, with a school board member is constructive feedback, and we need to be able to make sure we take it back and analyze it, and then take and move forward with it to reflect on it. So I appreciate the time, and my staff appreciates the time.
Yes, sir. Thank you, and well done this evening. Board, the only other item under information items is the monthly Business Advisory Board meeting minutes. There is no further presentation on that. If there's any questions, we'll field them. If not, we'll move on. Okay? Hearing and seeing none. Let's get down to our regular agenda items, Board, and the curriculum instruction.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Under curriculum instruction, I make a motion to approve items A and B.
Second.
Thank you, Board. Curriculum instruction, we have a motion by Mr. Long with a second by Mr. Wheeler on the approval of letters A and B. Board, is there any discussion? Okay, hearing and seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by stating aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The motion does carry 5-0.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Under business and finance, I make a motion to accept items C through I as presented.
Second.
Thank you, Board. We do have a motion by Mr. Long with a second by Mr. Wheeler on the approval of letters C through I under business and finance. Board, is there any discussion on these items? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by stating aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The motion does carry 5-0.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
under
sir.
facilities J and K, I make a motion to accept both items as presented with discussion.
Second.
Thank you, Board. Under facilities, letters J and K, we do have a motion by Mr. Long with a second by Mr. Wheeler on the approval of these items. Discussion, Mr. Long.
Yes. Mr. Wells.
Yes.
At our last meeting, you and maybe your staff would have heard something that was not my intention, that I was attacking the facilities department. I will say now for the record, for anyone listening out in the public, for anyone in this room, I consider Mr. Clyde Wells to be a 100% honest, hardworking individual, as is everyone in your staff. The comments I said started with we meaning the board. I am absolutely positive that if at any point this board or the next board or any board coming up gave policy or set direction that the facilities department would hard bid a project, I am absolutely positive that's what you would do. So if you understood my comments to be attacking you or your department, I sincerely apologize.
That's fine. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Long. Any discussion on these items, Board? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by stating aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The motion does carry 5-0. Superintendent recommendation, Melba, none this evening?
No, sir.
Mr. Brown, any reports for us tonight?
No, sir.
Thank you. Melba, an update?
None.
Great. Moving right along. Mr. Wheeler, you did put under old business
It's
steam.
very brief. I just want to point out for, in case anybody missed it, the last meeting, we had some charter applications. And we had a woman up here from one of them that got approved, who in the course of the approval went on about her PhD or doctorate in curriculum, reading, et cetera, and I asked her, and I didn't really try to trick her, if she, where STEAM was going with it, STEAM standing for Science, Technology, Engineering, Arts, and Math, and she didn't have a clue what I was talking about, and I unfortunately had to stop her. I'd have rather had her say, I don't understand, what does that mean, or what, so I just want to point that out for everybody here in case you missed it, that did happen, and we need to, we can't be afraid to ask people questions. Something is it's like almost asking somebody, Khan Academy is in education. I mean, there's certain expectations we should have from people if they're in education today. So I don't want to elaborate on it. I just wanted to illuminate that for those of you who may have missed it, that's all.
Thank you, sir. Board, there is no other new business that I'm aware of. Are there any committee reports or comments that need to be made at this time? Okay, hearing and seeing none, Board, we will stand adjourned at this time. I thank you for your time this evening.